Today we've got a real treat for all you Canadians out there, the life and times of Wolverine. If you're not Canadian, you're allowed to enjoy this too, but it's not too often that Marvel heroes hail from the north, so we celebrate when we can. Well, I guess Deadpool's also technically Canadian. Thanks, Ryan Reynolds. Welcome back to Stan Lee Presents. Before we get started, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more like it. Without further ado, let's get started. Early life. James, also known as Jimmy Howlett, was born in 1832 in what would later become the Northwest Territories of Canada. In 1845, during a period of illness, James was visited by Victor while his father attended to him. In an unfortunate turn of events, Thomas Logan, the groundskeeper who was engaged in an affair with James's mother, arrived at the Howlett residence intoxicated. This led to a confrontation with James's father, John, ultimately resulting in Thomas shooting John. Upon hearing the gunfire, James investigated and discovered his father's lifeless body. In the wake of this tragic event, James's latent mutation was triggered, causing bone claws to protrude from his fists and knuckles in a manifestation of his grief-fueled vengeance. Enraged, he impaled Thomas with these newfound claws. In his final moments, Thomas shattered James's understanding of his identity by revealing himself as James's biological father. Following Thomas's death, Elizabeth, horrified by James's transformation, rejected him, branding him a freak and forcing him out. Confused and overwhelmed, James fled into the wilderness, with Victor, also a mutant, trailing behind. Victor, recognizing their shared heritage, declared them brothers and pledged to stand by each other through thick and thin, leading James to adopt the name Logan. Over the ensuing 128 years, Logan and Victor fought side by side in various wars, including the American Civil War, World War I, World War II, and the Vietnam War, utilizing their mutant abilities. However, Victor's temperament grew increasingly volatile and uncontrollable over time. Meeting Ichiro Yashida. In 1945, Logan relocated from the European front to the Pacific Theater, where he was taken captive by Japanese forces before August 9th and transported to a POW camp close to Nagasaki. Amidst the Nagasaki bombing on August 9th, 1945, Logan rescues Ichiro Yashida, a youthful officer in the Imperial Japanese Army. Following the rescue, Yashida expresses his gratitude and extends a Japanese samurai sword as a gesture of thanks. Logan declines the offer but suggests Yashida keep it safe for him, assuring that he'll retrieve it at a later date. Meeting Charles and Eric. During their global quest in 1962 to recruit mutants for combat against the Hellfire Club, a youthful Charles Xavier and Eric Lensher encountered Logan at a bar. Despite their introduction, Logan promptly brushes them off before they can proceed any further. Affair with Gwen. In January 1973, Wolverine is employed as a bodyguard for a young woman, but violates protocol by engaging in a sexual relationship with her. His indiscretion is uncovered the following morning. Original timeline. X-Men: Days of Future Past. In the original timeline, Wolverine remained largely inactive during this period, steering clear of mutant matters altogether. He either remained indifferent or unaware when Mystique carried out the assassination of Bolivar Trask. During the Vietnam War in the 70s, which marked the final conflict Logan and Victor participated in, Victor perpetrated a heinous act, attempting to rape and murder a young Vietnamese village woman. When soldiers from their platoon and their commanding officer intervened, Victor's violence escalated. He killed a senior officer and viciously attacked those who tried to restrain him. Reluctantly, Logan came to his brother's aid, unleashing his claws and preparing to defend Victor, showcasing their extraordinary abilities to their fellow soldiers. Their insubordination led to a death sentence, and they faced execution by firing squad after decapitating a senior officer. However, their unparalleled regenerative powers ensured their survival, sparing them from death. Following the failed execution, Logan and Victor found themselves imprisoned, their unique healing abilities rendering conventional means of execution futile. Major William Stryker took notice of them and offered them a way out of their confinement by recruiting them for his special mutant team, Team X. Both Logan and Victor accepted the offer, joining forces with mutants like Wade Wilson, Agent Zero, Chris Bradley, Fred Dukes, and John Wraith to embark on covert missions around the globe. During one of their missions under Stryker's command, Team X is dispatched to locate and secure a mysterious meteorite, later revealed to be adamantium, from a diamond smuggling operation in Lagos, Nigeria. Upon assaulting the compound, they defeat its security forces and acquire a peculiar rock, later identified as a fragment of a meteor that had fallen from the sky. Upon reaching a remote village where the meteorite originated, Stryker and the team interrogate the locals to uncover more meteorites. Learning that the rock was indeed from a meteor, Stryker delegates Wade Wilson to interrogate further due to his language skills. Despite threats, the village chief refuses to disclose more, citing the sacredness of the meteorites. Frustrated, Stryker orders Victor to kill the chief and initiates an attack on the villagers when they remain reticent. As chaos erupts and civilians are slain, Logan intervenes, preventing the mutants from attacking another nearby village. One evening, Kayla shares with Logan a tale from her Native American heritage about a spirit named Quequachu. In the story, Quequachu, enamored with the moon, is deceived by the trickster into leaving the spirit realm for the mortal world, where he is forever separated from his beloved. Forced to gaze at the moon for all eternity, he can never reunite with her, lamenting her presence with eternal howls. While Logan is away, Kayla falls victim to an attack by Victor. Sensing Victor's involvement, Logan rushes to Kayla's deserted car but arrives too late. Understanding Victor's hand in her demise, Logan is consumed by grief and anger. As a result of his rage, he lunges at Victor in a bar that evening. After a brutal fight, Victor snaps off Logan's bone claws on his left hand and leaves. The next morning, Logan wakes up in the emergency room where Stryker happens to be present. Stryker explains to Logan that he can help him exact revenge on Victor by implementing an experimental procedure. Logan agrees, but warns him he will only do it for revenge. Before undergoing the adamantium procedure, Logan requests new dog tags bearing the name Wolverine, a nod to the tale Kayla shared with him. Stryker proceeds to encase Logan's bones in adamantium, resulting in Logan flatlining. However, he miraculously resuscitates after a brief period. Upon overhearing Stryker's directive to erase his memories for an undisclosed project, Logan escapes the facility. He flees until finding refuge in a nearby barn, where he seeks temporary shelter. The elderly couple who owns the barn extend hospitality to Logan, offering him food and shelter despite initial wariness. They even gift him a jacket belonging to their son and allow him to take their motorcycle for a ride. However, their kindness is abruptly shattered when Agent Zero arrives and murders the couple just before breakfast. As Logan escapes on the motorcycle, the barn is obliterated in a bombing. Engaging in a daring pursuit, Logan eventually confronts and destroys Zero's helicopter. Following Zero's demise, Logan sets out to locate the remaining members of Team X, finding John Wraith and Fred Dukes in Las Vegas. Driven by a desire for revenge against Victor and Stryker, Logan presses Dukes for information on Stryker's activities, resulting in a misunderstanding that escalates into a boxing match between the two. Despite Dukes' formidable size, Logan emerges victorious and interrogates him. Learning about a mutant named Remy LeBeau, also known as Gambit, Logan and Wraith travel to New Orleans to find him. They approach Gambit seeking information about Stryker's island, where mutants are held captive for Stryker's new project, Weapon 11. Gambit, misinterpreting Logan's intentions, launches an attack, prompting a brief skirmish. As Logan regains his bearings, he stumbles upon Wraith's lifeless body, with Victor looming nearby, harvesting samples of Wraith's DNA. Fueled by rage, Logan incapacitates Gambit and confronts Victor in a ferocious battle. Despite gaining the upper hand and nearly besting Victor, Gambit, who regained consciousness, intervenes from a rooftop, allowing Victor to slip away. After subduing Gambit, Logan clarifies his true motives and persuades him to guide him to the island. With Gambit's guidance, Logan arrives at the island, revealed to be 3 Mile Island. There he confronts Stryker, who unveils the truth about Deadpool and reveals that Kayla, presumed dead, is actually alive and collaborating with Stryker under duress. Victor, observing from a nearby room, watches as Stryker discloses their collaboration in manipulating mutants, including tricking Logan into consenting to the adamantium procedure by fabricating Kayla's death. She had been coerced into seducing Logan and orchestrating an incident that would lead to his involvement in the Weapon X program and the adamantium infusion. Her supposed demise merely a ruse. Deeply wounded by the betrayal, Logan equates Kayla to the trickster who deceived him. Stricken by betrayal, Logan opts to depart the facility, determined to forge a new path. Hearing Kayla's cries for help, Wolverine rushes back to her aid, ready to confront Victor once more. Engaging in another intense battle, Wolverine and Victor clash fiercely, with Wolverine ultimately gaining the advantage. As he prepares to deliver the finishing blow, Kayla intervenes, pleading with Wolverine to spare Victor and not to succumb to the darkness within, reminding him of his humanity, in contrast to Victor's taunts. Touched by her words, Wolverine chooses to spare his brother's life, knocking him unconscious instead of delivering a fatal blow. In the aftermath of the confrontation, Kayla reveals that she only cooperated with Stryker's schemes because her sister, Emma Frost, was being held captive on the island. She explains that she faked her death to aid in freeing Emma but was betrayed by Stryker, who reneged on his promise. Despite her involvement in the deception, Kayla assures Wolverine that her feelings for him were genuine and that their love was real. She discloses Stryker's true agenda, including his experimentation on mutants for the Deadpool project, and implores Wolverine to help her rescue the mutant prisoners. Moved by her sincerity and determined to right the wrongs perpetrated by Stryker, Wolverine agrees to assist her in freeing the captive mutants. Together, they embark on a mission to liberate the imprisoned mutants and put an end to Stryker's nefarious schemes. Leading the mutants to safety, Logan faces off against Weapon 11, now under Stryker's control. Instructing the others to find an alternative escape route, Logan prepares to confront the deadly adversary alone. They clash fiercely as the remaining mutants flee to safety. Empowered by a combination of mutant abilities, Weapon 11 poses a formidable threat, armed with Cyclops' optic beams, Wolverine's healing factor, John Wraith's teleportation, Chris Bradley's technopathy, and Wade Wilson's retractable arm blades. Amidst the chaos, Stryker manipulates Chris Bradley to attack Logan. Despite the onslaught, Logan puts up a valiant fight but finds himself overpowered and pinned down. Just as Weapon 11 is poised to deliver a fatal blow at Stryker's command, Victor intervenes, saving Logan from certain death. Catching Logan, Victor reveals his true intentions, expressing his desire to be the one to end Logan's life, affirming, "Nobody kills you but me." Their uneasy alliance is short-lived, as both Victor and Weapon 11 plummet into the reactor below, leaving Logan to contemplate the gravity of Victor's words amidst the chaos. Eventually, Logan and Victor tag team, leading Deadpool to teleport between them back and forth, eventually stabbing him and capturing him. However, Deadpool manages to teleport to the other side of the reactor. When Deadpool fires his optic blasts at Logan and Victor, Victor attacks Deadpool as he fires his optic blasts on Logan. In addition to Deadpool firing optic blasts, Victor attacks Deadpool. While Victor jumps at Weapon 11 and is shot back, Logan falls over the edge of the reactor. When Weapon 11 blasts Victor into the ground, Logan climbs back on the reactor. Logan decapitates Weapon 11 before Deadpool can kill him by running, jumping, and slashing him through the neck. As Logan kicks him into the cooling tower of the nuclear reactor, Weapon 11 holds his neck, allowing his head to fall off as he tumbles below with the lasers of his optic blast still active. After the intense battle, Logan assists Victor out of the hole, but their exchange is tense and distant. Logan bluntly informs Victor that their relationship is irreparably damaged, despite his assistance, stating that he wants nothing to do with him anymore. In response, Victor insists that their bond as brothers can never truly be severed, emphasizing the importance of looking out for each other. Despite Victor's plea, he ultimately jumps off the side of the reactor cooling tower, leaving Logan to contemplate their fractured relationship. Logan follows the reactor as it tumbles, collapsing as he lands. A piece of the reactor falls on Logan, but Gambit breaks it up, saving him. After a brief split, Gambit and Logan split up, with Gambit helping the children and Logan caring for Kayla. In a feral rage, Logan sprints at Stryker, eventually jumping him as he carries her a few steps before Stryker shoots him in the back. In a sudden twist, while mid-leap, Logan is struck in the head by Stryker with adamantium bullets, causing him to collapse unconscious, his brain damaged and much of his long-term memory lost. As Stryker prepares to end Kayla's life, she defiantly grabs his ankle and, utilizing her power, compels him to depart before succumbing to death herself. When Logan regains consciousness, he finds himself disoriented and with no recollection of his past or the people around him, including Gambit and Kayla. However, upon discovering Kayla's lifeless body, a sense of respect prompts him to gently close her eyes. Eventually, Logan and Gambit part ways, each embarking on their own journey. In a poignant final scene, Wolverine is depicted sitting at a bar in Japan, immersed in his solitude. When the bartender questions if he's drinking to forget, Wolverine offers a cryptic response, stating that he's actually drinking to remember, hinting at his ongoing struggle to piece together his shattered memories and find solace in the fragments of his past. X-Men. Years later, Logan is seen as a cigar-smoking loner who wanders from place to place in Canada. He participates in cage fights to make money, taking advantage of the enhanced durability that his adamantium skeleton and healing factor grant him. In a gritty underground arena, a crowd roars as a caged wrestling match concludes, the victor celebrating amidst the cheers. Among the spectators stands Marie, now known as Rogue, who observes the spectacle with a mix of curiosity and admiration. As a new challenger enters the cage, anticipation fills the air. Initially, the newcomer appears to gain the upper hand, but to the audience's astonishment, the reigning champ swiftly regains his footing, launching a ferocious counterattack that swiftly dispatches his opponent. With the announcer declaring him the undefeated champion, Wolverine emerges victorious once more, his prowess in combat earning him the adulation of the crowd. Watching him in awe, Rogue witnesses the relentless spirit and indomitable strength of the man known as Wolverine. As the night wears on and the crowd dissipates, Rogue sits alone at the bar, lost in her thoughts. Suddenly, Wolverine joins her, offering a beer and casting a curious glance in her direction. As they share a quiet moment, a news report in the background highlights the impending gathering of world leaders in New York, with discussions slated to include the mutant phenomenon. Their conversation is interrupted by the wrestler from earlier, who approaches Wolverine and demands payment for his defeat, convinced that only a mutant could endure such punishment unscathed. Refusing to be intimidated, Wolverine remains steadfast, but the wrestler's demeanor quickly turns hostile as he brandishes a knife and lunges at Wolverine. Reacting swiftly to Rogue's warning cry, Wolverine springs into action, leaping from his seat and unsheathing his razor-sharp metal claws in defense. As tension escalates, the situation takes a dangerous turn when the bartender brandishes a gun, prompting Wolverine to confront him as well. After the altercation, Wolverine decides to leave the bar, and Marie, realizing Wolverine is a mutant, follows him outside. Desperate for his assistance, she seeks refuge in his truck, hiding in the trailer as he drives away. Sometime later, Wolverine notices movement in the back and pulls over to investigate. Discovering Marie hiding in the trailer, she apologizes, explaining that she really needed a ride. Initially, Wolverine is adamant about her leaving, ordering her out into the cold before attempting to continue his journey alone. However, as guilt gnaws at him, he eventually relents and allows her back into the truck, albeit reluctantly. As they journey together, Wolverine and Marie gradually develop a bond resembling that of a father and daughter. After offering her food, Marie introduces herself as Rogue, sparking a conversation about their respective lives. Despite Wolverine's initial reticence to share, Marie's curiosity persists. Sensing Marie's discomfort, Wolverine activates the heater and encourages her to warm her hands, but she recoils from his touch. Misinterpreting her reaction as fear, Wolverine is surprised when she explains her ability to harm others through skin-to-skin contact. Intrigued, Wolverine candidly admits the pain he endures when his claws emerge. Curious about their chosen aliases, Rogue questions Wolverine's moniker, prompting him to reveal his true name, Logan. In turn, Wolverine queries the origin of Rogue, leading to a playful exchange about their respective identities. Through their conversation, a tentative connection forms. As they continue their journey, Marie reveals her true name to Logan, prompting a brief exchange before she advises him to buckle up. Brushing off her suggestion, Logan asserts his confidence in his driving skills. However, their conversation is abruptly interrupted when the truck collides with a tree branch, hurling Logan through the front windshield and into the snow several meters away. Regaining consciousness, Logan rises from the snow as the truck begins to engulf in flames. Concerned for Marie's safety, he rushes back to check on her. As she awakens, Marie witnesses in awe as Logan's wounds rapidly heal. With a mixture of shock and amazement, she confirms her well-being. Just as Logan moves to assist Marie, his heightened senses detect a familiar scent in the air, the presence of a formidable adversary, Sabretooth. Prepared for the impending confrontation, Logan braces himself for the impending battle against his longtime nemesis. Abruptly, Sabretooth emerges from the woods, hurling Wolverine through the air with tremendous force. With savage determination, he throws Wolverine once more onto the flaming truck before advancing towards him. Meanwhile, Rogue, already terrified by the inferno engulfing the vehicle, watches in horror. In a dramatic turn of events, two figures materialize behind Sabretooth, Cyclops and Storm. With unwavering resolve, Cyclops unleashes a powerful optic blast, striking Sabretooth and momentarily incapacitating him. Utilizing his beams, Cyclops frees Rogue from her perilous predicament, and together they swiftly retrieve both her and Wolverine. narrowly escaping the imminent explosion of the truck. As the flames erupt behind them, Cyclops and Storm lead Wolverine and Rogue to safety, rescuing them from the clutches of danger. With their rescue mission accomplished, they transport the rescued pair to the sanctuary of the X-Mansion, where they can find refuge and aid in recovering from the harrowing ordeal. Lying unconscious in the X-Men's base, Wolverine is tended to by Jean Grey. As she attempts to administer an injection, Wolverine suddenly awakens, mistaking her for an adversary. Swiftly evading her grasp, he escapes and navigates through the labyrinthine tunnels of Xavier's mansion. Amidst the disorientation, Wolverine begins to hear telepathic voices in his head, Charles Xavier guiding him through the maze. Following his instructions, Wolverine discovers a closet and dons a shirt before encountering an elevator which transports him to the upper floors. Navigating through the corridors, Wolverine encounters mutant children whom he evades before stumbling into a classroom where Xavier is teaching. Xavier warmly welcomes him and concludes the lesson as the students depart. Witnessing Kitty's remarkable ability to phase through solid objects, Wolverine is visibly perplexed. Introducing himself as Charles Xavier, the professor invites Wolverine to join him for breakfast. Confused about his surroundings, Wolverine inquires about his location, to which Xavier responds that they are in Westchester, New York, Wolverine having been brought there for medical attention following an attack. Dismissing any need for medical aid, Wolverine instead queries about Rogue's whereabouts. Xavier reassures him that Rogue is also present and safe. As Logan's rescuers enter, Xavier introduces them as Ororo Monroe, also known as Storm, and Scott Summers, known as Cyclops. Scott extends his hand for a handshake, but Logan remains unresponsive. Xavier acknowledges that they saved Logan's life, and Jean Grey joins them shortly after. After introducing Jean, Xavier explains that Logan is in a school for mutants, known as the Xavier Institute for Gifted Youngsters, where he is safe from Magneto. Perplexed, Logan questions, "What's a Magneto?" Xavier elucidates that Magneto is a formidable mutant and that Sabretooth, the assailant who attacked Logan, is one of his associates. Feeling incredulous, Logan prepares to leave, brushing off Scott's attempt to impede him. However, Xavier interjects, offering assistance in unlocking Logan's lost memories. Telepathically, Xavier communicates with Logan, revealing that it's been 15 years since he lost his memory, and suggests that his telepathic abilities can aid in recollecting his past. Intrigued by the prospect, Logan inquires further about their location and purpose. Xavier continues to elucidate the nature of the school, persuading Logan of its suitability as a refuge for Rogue. However, he reveals that beneath the facade lies a complex organization, with lower levels housing the true operations of the X-Men. Guiding Logan through the facility, Xavier unveils the hangar housing the X-Men's advanced aircraft, the Blackbird. Delving into his own history, Xavier recounts his childhood discovery of his telepathic abilities and his encounter with Eric Lensher, a fellow mutant with the power to manipulate magnetism. Tragically, Eric's disillusionment with humanity led him to embrace a darker path, assuming the mantle of Magneto. Offering Logan a proposition, Xavier proposes a 48-hour window to uncover the reasons behind Magneto's pursuit of him, in exchange for assistance in unraveling Logan's enigmatic past. With this offer on the table, Logan is faced with a crucial decision, one that could provide answers to his forgotten history and shed light on his connection to the enigmatic figure of Magneto. In the confines of the X-Mansion, Jean conducts tests on Logan, who expresses remorse for his earlier outburst and attempts to charm her. Jean responds with a pointed look before swiftly ushering him into the scanning machine. Later that evening, Logan appears to have acquiesced to Xavier's proposal. Jean guides him to his room for the night, where Logan resumes his flirtatious banter. Expressing jealousy over Jean's relationship with Scott, he teasingly questions her ability to tolerate Scott's presence. Jean reveals her telekinetic abilities and demonstrates by closing the closet door with her mind. She also mentions her limited telepathic capabilities, prompting Logan to implore her to read his mind. Initially hesitant, Jean eventually complies, delving into Logan's memories of fire and the traumatic operation he endured. As Logan eagerly awaits Jean's revelations, their moment is interrupted by Scott's entrance. Jean, feeling slightly embarrassed, excuses herself, leaving Scott and Logan to engage in playful taunts about Jean and their respective roles in Logan's rescue. Before departing, Scott issues a warning to Logan to steer clear of Jean. In the dead of night, Logan is consumed by a haunting nightmare of his traumatic past, reliving the agonizing moment when adamantium was bonded to his skeleton. Suddenly, Rogue enters his room, attempting to rouse him from his restless slumber. Startled awake and still gripped by the remnants of his terrifying dream, Logan lets out a terrified scream, his claws instinctively unsheathing and piercing Rogue's chest. The shock of his actions jolts Logan back to reality, and he quickly retracts his claws, leaving 3 puncture wounds in Rogue's body. Trembling with shock and pain, Rogue struggles to regain her composure as Logan's hysterical cries for help fill the room. Just in time, Aurora, Jean, Scott, and a group of children, including Bobby, rush into the room, witnessing the aftermath of the alarming incident. As Rogue's wounds begin to miraculously heal before their eyes, Logan loses consciousness, prompting Jean and Scott to rush to his aid. Meanwhile, Rogue apologizes profusely, insisting that the injury was purely accidental. Distressed by the unfolding events, Rogue retreats from the room, leaving the other children to recoil in fear and uncertainty. While some regard her with apprehension, Iceman's expression reflects genuine concern for her well-being amid the chaos. After some time, Logan regains consciousness to find Xavier by his side. Inquiring about Rogue's condition, he learns from the professor that she's expected to recover. Wolverine seeks clarification on the events, prompting Xavier to explain Rogue's abilities. When she makes physical contact, she absorbs others' energies, including mutant abilities. In Logan's case, she absorbed his healing power. Expressing the severity of his experience, Logan remarks he felt as though she nearly ended his life, to which Xavier confirms that prolonged contact could have indeed been fatal. In the subterranean chamber, Xavier and Cyclops endeavored to decipher Magneto's intentions concerning Wolverine. Xavier senses Scott's disapproval of Logan. At that moment, Logan and Aurora enter, inquiring about Rogue's whereabouts. Following a brief mental scan, Xavier reveals Rogue's absence. Shortly after, Xavier, Scott, Jean, Aurora, and Logan convene in a secure chamber, where Xavier introduces Logan to Cerebro. Cerebro, a vast spherical chamber with a bridge leading to the apparatus, enhances Xavier's abilities, enabling him to track mutants over great distances, an essential tool in locating Rogue. When Logan suggests using Cerebro to track Magneto, Xavier explains Magneto's ability to shield himself from the device, revealing Logan's past involvement in its creation. Donning the Cerebro helmet and dismissing the others, Xavier initiates the search. Outside, Logan questions Jean about her experience with Cerebro, learning of its inherent danger for individuals lacking sufficient control, such as herself. Meanwhile, Xavier successfully pinpoints Rogue's location at the train station. Despite Logan's impulse to pursue her, Xavier cautions against leaving the mansion, fearing Magneto's capture. Instead, he dispatches Cyclops and Storm on the mission. As Scott and Aurora prepare to depart, Scott discovers his motorcycle missing from the garage. On the road, Logan speeds along on Scott's motorcycle. Meanwhile, at the train station, Rogue sits aboard a train, observing people interact without inhibition, longing for the touch she can never experience again. Logan locates her and takes a seat beside her. They exchange apologies for the events of the previous night, and Logan inquires if she's fleeing once more. Rogue confides that she's heard rumors at school about Xavier's displeasure toward her. While aboard the train, Rogue seeks Wolverine's counsel on whether she should return. His response is to encourage her to trust her instincts. After a moment of contemplation, she opens up about a poignant memory, her first kiss with David, which tragically left him in a coma for 3 weeks, leaving an indelible imprint on her consciousness alongside Logan's presence. Moved by her vulnerability, Logan offers solace, embracing her through her shirt. He persuades Rogue to remain under Xavier's care, assuring her that Xavier empathizes with her plight and genuinely desires to aid her, pledging his own support. As the train sets into motion, Logan convinces her to give Xavier and his team another chance. As the Brotherhood descends upon the train station, Rogue's train grinds to a halt and darkness envelops the scene. Amidst the chaos, Wolverine witnesses in horror as Magneto unleashes his powers, tearing the train apart and levitating its fragments. With his claws bared, Wolverine confronts Magneto, who identifies him as the man infused with metal. Using his abilities, Magneto suspends Logan in the air and inflicts pain upon him, prompting Rogue's desperate pleas for mercy. Logan demands to know why Magneto is targeting him, only to realize with dread that Rogue is the true target. Helpless, Wolverine is flung aside by Magneto before the latter subdues Rogue with a tranquilizer dart, swiftly capturing her. She soon becomes a vital component in Magneto's grand scheme atop the Statue of Liberty. Back at the mansion, Logan stands at the sink, his expression wrought with anger. He resents the professor's assertion that he was the desired target, and Xavier offers a sincere apology, admitting to a grave error as Magneto's helmet disrupts his telepathic abilities. Fueled by frustration, Logan storms off in search of Rogue, determined to confront the situation alone. However, Storm intervenes, urging him to join their cause and fight alongside them. Dismissing her plea, Logan expresses his reluctance to aid a world that harbors animosity towards him. He acknowledges Magneto's ominous warning of an impending war and questions Storm's allegiance. She reaffirms her commitment to their cause, prompting Logan to open the door and unexpectedly find Senator Kelly awaiting Dr. Jean Grey's assistance. In the underground facility, Senator Kelly lies on a medical table with Logan and Jean by his side. Xavier approaches, introducing himself. Kelly explains his aversion to conventional hospitals, fearing mistreatment due to his mutant status. A sentiment Xavier finishes, reassuring him they're not all as he perceives. Kelly, embittered by his ordeal, challenges Xavier to convey that message to those responsible. Xavier urges Kelly to relax as he delves into his memories. In Kelly's recollection, he witnesses Magneto's transformation process, aided by Mystique, leaving Magneto visibly fatigued and weakened. Back in the present, Xavier, Scott, Jean, and Logan convene in an upstairs room. Xavier elucidates Magneto's utilization of a machine emitting radiation to induce mutation in non-mutants. Jean adds that this mutation is unnatural, resulting in Kelly's body rejecting it, causing cellular breakdown. Scott queries the effects of the radiation on mutants, to which Xavier replies it poses no threat to them but could prove detrimental to humans. Logan presses for insight into Magneto's interest in Rogue, to which Xavier admits uncertainty. Frustrated, Logan moves to depart, but Scott interjects with a revelation. The machine derived its power from Magneto, nearly costing him his life. Scott theorizes that Magneto intends for Rogue to absorb his powers, sparing him. Storm interrupts their discussion as she enters Xavier's study, announcing Senator Kelly's demise. Xavier resolves to locate Rogue himself and instructs the men to resolve their differences. Cyclops, Jean, Storm, and Wolverine huddle together, mapping out their strategy. Armed with a deep understanding of Magneto's objectives, they grasp the perilous reality. Magneto remains oblivious to the lethal nature of his machine. Acknowledging the potential devastation if Rogue absorbs excessive power, they craft a plan to disrupt Magneto's designs on Liberty Island. Logan voices concern about Harbor Patrol, prompting Scott to assert that any entity capable of detecting their jet would merit interception. With resolve, they board the Blackbird and depart, leaving the students awestruck. Scott takes the helm, guiding the jet toward their destination. As they near the bridge, they make a controlled landing on the water's surface, with Storm enveloping them in fog to conceal their approach. The Blackbird touches down and the X-Men disembark, gazing up at the machine perched atop the torch. As they pass through a metal detector, it alarms at Logan, who defiantly extends his claws into it. Cyclops shoots him a disapproving glance, prompting Wolverine to retract the outer two claws in a gesture of defiance. Scott's smirk is met with an eye roll from Jean. Proceeding cautiously down the corridor, they are unaware that Toad and Mystique lie in wait. Logan's heightened senses detect their presence, prompting him to warn the others to stay vigilant, sardonically jabbing at Scott's expense. Suddenly, a second Wolverine emerges, launching into a fierce battle with the original. The ensuing chaos leaves the team uncertain of who is genuine and who is the imposter. Both Wolverines unleash their claws, tearing through their surroundings. Eventually, Mystique reveals her true form, outmaneuvering Wolverine in a surprising turn of events. Later, Storm cautiously approaches Logan, questioning his identity. He gestures for silence, relying on his heightened sense of smell to detect the presence of the other Wolverine nearby. Urging the need to regroup, Storm is abruptly silenced as Logan unsheaths his claws, revealing Mystique's deception as she morphs upon being impaled. After dispatching the imposter, Logan locates Scott and Jean, who demand proof of his identity. Logan's curt response, "You're a dick," satisfies Scott, confirming his authenticity. As they ascend the stairs, Logan abruptly warns them to evacuate. Confused, Cyclops queries the issue, only for Logan to find himself immobilized and pinned to the wall, along with the others as Magneto descends. Despite Cyclops' attempts to use his optic blasts, metal fragments ensnare them, leaving him unable to target Magneto without endangering Jean. Sabretooth joins them, disarming Cyclops and rendering him unable to use his powers. In a tense standoff, Scott urges Storm to unleash a lightning bolt, but Magneto warns against it, citing the danger posed by the conductive surroundings. As Magneto explains his motivations, they're startled by Rogue's distressing cries for help. Wolverine confronts Magneto, questioning the righteousness of his actions and suggesting that he should have been the one in the machine. Unfazed, Magneto ascends towards the machine, ignoring Rogue's pleas. In a desperate bid for freedom, Logan strains against his restraints, pushing himself to the limit and causing Jean to cry out in concern. Sabretooth moves closer to Logan's immobilized form, but Logan suddenly springs into action, impaling Sabretooth with his claws. Despite Sabretooth's regenerative abilities mirroring Wolverine's own, they engage in a fierce battle atop the statue's head. During the intense battle, Wolverine retrieves his dog tags, a poignant symbol of his identity. Sabretooth hurls Wolverine off the statue, but he manages to cling on and leap back into action. In a fierce showdown, Wolverine overpowers Sabretooth, but his victory is short-lived as he hears Rogue's agonizing scream. Losing his grip, Wolverine falls, but deftly embeds his claws into the wall to break his fall, inadvertently endangering Scott and Jean on the other side. Mistaking him for dead, Sabretooth approaches Storm, only for Wolverine to leap back into the fray, wielding Cyclops' visor. Sensing the pivotal moment, Jean instructs Scott to prepare to open his eyes. With precise timing, Jean places the visor over Scott's eyes and commands, "Now!" Cyclops unleashes a powerful blast, propelling Sabretooth through the wall and into a boat anchored off Liberty Island. With the threat neutralized, Wolverine releases the others from their restraints. Wolverine proposes to Cyclops the idea of blasting the machine, but Scott is hesitant, fearing it could harm Rogue. Turning to Storm for assistance, Cyclops asks if she can elevate him, but she admits she lacks precise control, risking him soaring past the torch. Undeterred, Logan suggests Storm carry him, reasoning that if he falls short, Cyclops could still execute the plan. Reluctantly agreeing, Cyclops directs Jean to use her telekinesis to stabilize Logan during their ascent. With their combined efforts, they guide Logan towards the apex of the machine. As the energy field intensifies, Wolverine leaps inside, intent on freeing Rogue from her restraints. However, Magneto thwarts his efforts with his magnetic powers. Ready to unleash his optic blast, Cyclops hesitates as Jean urges caution. As Cyclops sees his chance, he takes it, blasting Magneto, saving her before the machine can stretch her power any further. After freeing Rogue, Wolverine slashes the machine, stopping it from mutating people. He cuts Rogue's chain and holds her tightly. She's not moving and notices the white streak in her hair. He touches her cheek, trying to give her his regenerative powers so it can save her life. At first, it doesn't seem to work, and Logan begins to despair, thinking Rogue is dead. A multitude of wounds begin to appear on Logan's face, and blood begins to drip from several stab wounds. As Rogue wakes up, Logan falls to the ground, unconscious with gashes all over his body. Back at the mansion, Logan awakens to find Jean watching over him. Anxious for news, he inquires about their mission's outcome. With a somber expression, Jean gestures towards Xavier lying on a nearby table. Later, Jean returns to check on Logan, revealing that his wounds have miraculously healed. Expressing admiration for his bravery, she confirms that his intervention saved Rogue. As Logan begins to open up about his feelings for her, Jean's response makes it clear that while Logan may hold affection for her, her heart belongs to Scott. Sensing the shift in mood, Logan changes the subject, inquiring about Xavier's condition. Jean reassures him that the professor is recovering well. The professor discloses to Logan the existence of an abandoned military compound in the Canadian Rockies, suggesting it may hold answers to his past. Before departing, Xavier asks if Logan intends to bid farewell to the students. As Logan prepares to leave, Rogue notices his departure and hurries to intercept him. Expressing her reluctance to see him go, she pleads for his return. Logan reassures her, promising he'll come back, leaving her with his dog tags as a memento until his return. With a sense of resolve, Wolverine departs the mansion, riding Cyclops' motorcycle towards Alkali Lake, his destination shrouded in mystery and possibility. X2, X-Men United, the movie prequel Wolverine. Logan halts to refuel Cyclops' motorcycle and discovers that Sabretooth has been trailing him. A fierce battle ensues, culminating in Logan emerging victorious. However, before delivering a final blow, Logan notices that Sabretooth bears identical dog tags. Intrigued by this revelation, they set aside their differences and engage in conversation over drinks. Their interaction is abruptly interrupted when Stryker's men storm in, armed with orders from Stryker himself. In a surprising turn of events, Logan and Sabretooth join forces to combat Stryker's soldiers with remarkable teamwork, unaware of their familial connection. Despite their valiant efforts, they're eventually overwhelmed and subdued. Regaining consciousness aboard a helicopter, Sabretooth sacrifices himself by hurling Wolverine off, allowing Logan to escape. Tragically, Stryker discovers that the adamantium bonding procedure failed with Victor and orders his men to execute him with adamantium bullets, resulting in Victor's demise. Meanwhile, undeterred by the chaos, Logan presses on with his quest to uncover the mysteries of Alkali Lake. X2, X-Men United. In the desolate landscape of Alkali Lake, Wolverine trudges through the snow, eyes fixed on the military compound mentioned by Professor X. As he approaches the gate, he encounters a solitary white wolf, a silent sentinel of the barren terrain. Crossing the threshold, he discovers only remnants of what once stood, an empty shell of the fortified structure. Disheartened by the lack of answers, Wolverine reluctantly retreats, his search yielding nothing but disappointment. With a heavy heart, he makes his way back to the X-Mansion, the weight of unfulfilled expectations lingering in the frigid air. Rogue's excitement swells as she hears the familiar rumble of Cyclops' motorcycle, signaling Logan's return. Rushing to the entrance, she embraces him warmly, exchanging greetings and introductions. Bobby, known as Iceman, playfully freezes Logan's hand during their handshake, eliciting teasing remarks from Logan about their physical compatibility. Bobby retorts that they're still figuring it out. Their reunion is interrupted by Ororo's arrival, who extends a warm welcome to Logan, informing him of an immediate need for a babysitter. As Storm departs to prepare the jet, Bobby and Rogue follow suit. Jean descends the stairs, greeting Logan before explaining that she and Storm are bound for Boston at the professor's behest, to track down a mutant involved in an attack on the president. As Logan playfully flirts with Jean, Scott enters, questioning if Logan found what he sought. After their brief exchange, Jean bids farewell to Scott with a kiss before departing. Left alone, Logan jokes about needing gas for his bike, tossing the keys to Scott, who responds in kind before tossing them back, indicating Logan's responsibility to refuel. In Cerebro, Professor Xavier prepares to locate the mutant attacker, welcoming Wolverine back while admonishing him to extinguish his cigar. Logan, momentarily stumped, eventually opts to stub out the cigar in his palm, the wound swiftly healing. Inquiring if he should depart, Logan is instructed to remain still by Xavier. As the room darkens, myriad lights emerge, each representing a living person, white for humans, red for mutants. Xavier elucidates that Cerebro connects him to every individual and vice versa. Logan shifts the conversation to his discovery at Alkali Lake, but Xavier, seemingly disregarding the topic, focuses on the broken line representing the elusive mutant. Logan suggests intensifying concentration, but Xavier cautions against it, warning of potential harm to the target. Suddenly, the mutant ceases running, his voice echoing prayers in German. Xavier exits Cerebro, prompting Logan to request another mind reading. Xavier explains the futility, emphasizing the complexity of the mind and the need for self-discovery. Before departing, he entrusts Logan with overseeing the children for the night, as he and Scott embark for a visit with an old friend. In the quiet of the Institute, Logan wrestles with the haunting nightmares of his past, roused from fitful sleep by sweat-soaked sheets. Descending the stairs, he's greeted by the glow of the television, where Jones, a mutant with unique abilities, effortlessly changes channels with a blink. Jones remarks on Logan's restlessness, to which Wolverine quips in response, prompting a simple observation from the perceptive student. Making his way to the kitchen, Logan encounters Bobby, indulging in a late-night snack of ice cream. Expressing a desire for beer, Logan is reminded of the school's rules by Bobby. Undeterred, Logan queries about alternatives, settling on soda. Bobby employs his own abilities, gently cooling the beverage with a frosty touch before offering it to Logan, fostering a sense of camaraderie. Curiously, Logan inquires about Bobby's tenure at the mansion, to which Bobby responds, a couple of years. Surprised, Logan questions if his parents simply shipped him off to a mutant school, to which Bobby reveals that his parents believe he's enrolled in a prep school. Shifting gears, Logan broaches the topic of Bobby's relationship with Rogue. Bobby confesses the complexities of their dynamic, expressing a desire for closeness while grappling with the barriers between them. In the midst of their conversation, Logan's heightened senses detect the approach of intruders. Urgently, he rises and signals Bobby to remain silent. Logan swiftly exits the kitchen just as a soldier lurks in, poised to ambush Bobby. Reacting instinctively, Logan intervenes, thwarting the soldier's attack in the nick of time. The sudden appearance of soldiers triggers a powerful sonic scream from Siren, reverberating throughout the school, shattering windows and jolting the others awake. As chaos erupts, Logan confronts the soldier in the kitchen, who unleashes gunfire indiscriminately. Bobby narrowly avoids the onslaught as Logan, consumed by a berserker rage, unsheathes his claws, swiftly dispatching the assailant before Bobby's wide eyes. In the wake of the confrontation, Logan and Bobby hastily depart the kitchen, encountering more soldiers in their path. Instructing Bobby to stay put, Logan engages the soldiers head-on, clearing a path for Bobby to seek out Rogue. With determination, Bobby rushes toward the elevator, intent on finding and protecting her amidst the escalating turmoil. In the heat of the chaos, Logan locates Colossus and entrusts him with Jones, whom he found unconscious. Despite Peter's offer to assist him, Logan urges him to prioritize the safety of the children. As Peter and Jones disappear into the passage, Logan encounters more soldiers, swiftly neutralizing them with his razor-sharp claws. Soldiers surge forward as Iceman, Rogue, and Pyro appear, but Logan springs into action, swiftly dispatching the threats. Racing to evade pursuing soldiers, they pile into an elevator, seeking refuge. However, just as the doors begin to close, Logan abruptly exits, opting to confront the soldiers head-on, ensuring his companions escape. As tension thickens, Stryker's voice breaks through, halting the soldiers' aggression. Addressing Logan by his codename, Stryker expresses astonishment at finding him in the mansion after over 15 years of absence. He reminisces about their past association, detailing his knowledge of Logan's history, including their prior collaboration and the extensive experimentation and injuries inflicted upon him. Logan, grappling with fragmented memories, demands Stryker to identify himself. Before Stryker can respond, a barrier of ice materializes, separating him from Logan. Despite Logan's insistence that the others depart to safety, Rogue adamantly refuses, determined to stand by him. As Stryker moves to attack, Logan urges the group to flee, assuring them of his ability to handle the situation. With Rogue and Bobby at his side, they race towards the garage, seeking refuge in Cyclops' car. In the frantic scramble to escape, Logan takes the wheel, igniting the engine with a swipe of his claws. With Pyro's desire to drive overridden by Logan's decision, they speed away just as the soldiers converge on the underground tunnels, the chase escalating into a perilous pursuit. As they speed down the road, Pyro seeks clarity on the recent events, prompting Logan to identify their adversary as Stryker, though admitting his memory of the man remains fragmented. An unexpected twist occurs when Pyro activates the CD player, revealing a hidden communicator instead. Recognizing the urgency of their situation, Logan suggests they head to Boston, surmising it to be the destination of Storm and Jean. Bobby interjects, revealing that his parents reside in Boston, offering a potential refuge to regroup and recover. Amidst the tension, Rogue returns Wolverine's dog tags. Upon arriving at the Drake residence, Bobby leads the group inside, calling out for his family. With no response, he instructs Pyro to refrain from causing any mischief as he retrieves clothing for everyone. Meanwhile, Logan attempts to use Scott's communicator to contact Jean, without success. Seeking solace in the kitchen, Logan helps himself to a bottle of beer from the fridge. Sensing a presence nearby, he instinctively unsheathes his claws, only to discover the Drake's cat curiously investigating. Surprisingly unfazed, the cat proceeds to lick Logan's claws as he relaxes his guard. As the door opens, Logan retracts his claws just in time to greet Bobby's parents and brother. William Drake queries Logan's identity, prompting Bobby to rush downstairs and introduce him as Professor Logan, signaling an imminent revelation. With tension mounting, Logan prepares to disclose the truth to Bobby's family. In the solemn ambiance of the Drake's living room, Bobby bravely concludes his revelation about his mutation to his parents and brother. Amidst the tension, Pyro idly flicks his lighter, a restless energy palpable in the air. Madeline Drake tentatively broaches the subject, struggling to articulate her thoughts, only for Pyro to interject and complete her sentence with a touch of irreverence. William Drake earnestly implores his son to understand their initial misunderstanding, emphasizing their belief that Bobby was attending a school for gifted individuals. In a moment of solidarity, Rogue affirms Bobby's inherent worth, prompting Logan to interject, challenging the notion of mutant problems and advocating for acceptance. Curiosity piqued, William queries Logan about his profession, receiving a surprising response of art. As tensions simmer, Rogue suggests a demonstration of Bobby's abilities, leading to Bobby freezing his mother's coffee cup, a display that both shocks and awes Madeline. Meanwhile, Pyro's amusement borders on mockery, exacerbating the family's turmoil. Overwhelmed by the revelation, Bobby's brother, Ronnie, storms out of the room in frustration. Madeline, grappling with guilt, shoulders the blame, but Pyro's callous remarks only serve to further exacerbate the situation. Feeling betrayed, Ronnie takes drastic action, making a fateful call to the authorities, escalating the already tense situation. As Cyclops' communicator emits a persistent beep, Logan retrieves it from the porch, connecting with Jean. With a heavy heart, he relays the grim news. The Institute has been overrun by soldiers. Concern mounts for the safety of the children, prompting Storm to inquire about their status. Logan's response is tinged with uncertainty, acknowledging that some manage to flee but others remain unaccounted for. The gravity of the situation weighs heavily as Jean reveals their inability to contact Professor Xavier or Scott. In a bid to regroup and strategize, Logan discloses his current location in Boston with Bobby Drake's family. With a sense of urgency, Jean and Storm set their course for Boston, determined to join forces and confront the unfolding crisis. With a terse instruction to expedite their arrival, Logan terminates the call, bracing for the challenges that lie ahead. As Logan urgently ushers the group outside, tension mounts when they discover the house encircled by police cars. A commanding officer demands Logan relinquish his claws and raise his hands. Confounded by the sudden escalation, Logan seeks clarification, only to realize with frustration that Bobby's brother, Ronnie, had summoned the authorities. From his vantage point in the bedroom window, Ronnie observes the unfolding confrontation. Meanwhile, on the porch, Bobby's parents are directed to comply with police orders as two officers enter the fray. Despite Logan's attempts to defuse the situation, tensions remain high. As he raises his arm in a futile attempt to reason with the officers, tragedy strikes. A frightened officer opens fire, striking Logan in the forehead, and he crumples to the ground, the echoes of the gunshot reverberating through the air. As Wolverine lies unconscious, the tension escalates further when John's fiery outburst threatens to engulf Bobby's home entirely. In a desperate bid to prevent further destruction, Rogue unleashes her powers, extinguishing the flames that had threatened to consume them all. As the smoke clears, John sinks to his knees, the gravity of his actions sinking in. Bobby watches in awe as Logan's forehead wound miraculously heals, the bullet dislodging itself from his flesh. The arrival of the jet landing in the yard with precision marks a pivotal moment of relief. With a collective resolve, the mutants stride towards the aircraft. Hindered by fear and awe, the officers stand down, powerless to impede their departure. Seated within the confines of the jet, the four mutants settle in, their collective gaze resting upon the newcomer. Wolverine breaks the silence with a query, prompting Kurt to introduce himself as the enigmatic Nightcrawler, renowned in the Munich circus for his remarkable abilities. With a sense of urgency pervading the air, the jet accelerates skyward, leaving behind the tumultuous scene at Bobby's home. As they soar through the air, Bobby remains somber, his thoughts consumed by the profound impact of his family's reactions, a poignant reminder of the challenges faced by mutants in a world fraught with prejudice and misunderstanding. As the jet approaches the mansion, Jean alerts Wolverine to the presence of incoming signals. Storm confirms the ominous news. Two military jets are rapidly closing in on their position, demanding their immediate descent. Logan attributes their pursuit to John's actions, a sentiment echoed by the tension in the air. Despite Storm's attempts to evade, the military jets persist in their pursuit, escalating the situation to a critical juncture. With a determined gaze, Storm unleashes her powers, conjuring a tempestuous display of swirling winds and darkened skies. The turbulent atmosphere proves effective, downing one of the jets, but the other persists, launching torpedoes in their direction. In a desperate bid to avert disaster, Jean's telekinetic powers spring into action, diverting one of the torpedoes off course. Yet despite their efforts, one torpedo finds its mark, tearing through the jet's fuselage and threatening to plunge them into the ground. Amidst the chaos, Rogue's precarious position becomes a focal point of distress. Without hesitation, Kurt springs into action, teleporting to her side and whisking her to safety before she could be lost to the open sky. But just as all seems lost, a miraculous turn of events unfolds. The gaping hole in the jet inexplicably seals shut, halting their descent just meters above the ground. Bewildered, Storm and Jean exchange incredulous glances, realizing that this turn of events was not their doing. Meanwhile, on the ground, Magneto and Mystique revel in the chaos they've wrought, their laughter punctuating the surreal spectacle. With a wry quip, Magneto reflects on the folly of their adversaries' attempt to defy gravity, their machinations unfolding with a malevolent sense of amusement. As the night wears on, the mutants gather around a crackling fire, enveloped by the shadows of the forest. Magneto breaks the tension with a solemn revelation, disclosing the identity of their adversary, Colonel William Stryker. His intrusion into the mansion was driven by a singular objective, to seize control of Cerebro, or enough of its technology to fashion his own. Jean and Storm grapple with the implications, recognizing the catastrophic potential should Stryker harness the power of Cerebro unchecked. Perplexed by their concern, Wolverine presses for clarity, prompting Magneto to unveil the dire truth of Cerebro's capabilities. With Charles Xavier's mind linked to every living being on the planet, the potential for mass destruction looms large. Storm probes deeper, questioning how Stryker acquired knowledge of Cerebro's whereabouts. Magneto reveals a chilling reality. Xavier's formidable psychic defenses were breached by Stryker's potent methods of coercion. Jean seeks further insight into Stryker's motivations, prompting Magneto to paint a portrait of a military science consumed by the quest to eradicate what he perceives as the mutant problem. As the weight of this revelation settles, Wolverine grapples with the shock of discovering Stryker's pivotal role in his own tortured past. Storm voices the pressing question: what does Magneto require of them in this perilous moment? Magneto unveils a tantalizing lead. Mystique has uncovered intelligence regarding a covert base where Stryker is constructing a second Cerebro. However, the location remains elusive, prompting Magneto to turn his gaze towards an unexpected ally perched above them. With a steely glint in his eye, Magneto fixes his attention on Nightcrawler, whose presence offers a glimmer of hope in their quest for salvation. As Jean delves into Nightcrawler's memories, she recoils at the harrowing images mirrored from Wolverine's own tortured past, including scenes of invasive surgeries and unspeakable horrors. The revelation sends a shiver down her spine as she grapples with the gravity of Stryker's atrocities. Upon concluding her telepathic probe, Jean's voice trembles with dread as she confirms Stryker's whereabouts, Alkali Lake. Logan's skepticism flares at the notion, citing his recent expedition to the desolate location. Jean offers a chilling clarification. While the surface may bear the scars of destruction, the true heart of Stryker's operations lies concealed beneath the Earth's surface. The revelation casts a pall over the assembled mutants, underscoring the urgent need for decisive action. With the specter of Stryker's malevolence looming ever larger, they steel themselves for the perilous journey ahead, determined to confront the darkness lurking beneath the shadows of Alkali Lake. Afterwards, Logan and Jean find themselves in a private moment. Logan inquires about her well-being, and she expresses concern for Scott. Acknowledging her abilities displayed aboard the jet, Logan offers admiration, but Jean remains unconvinced of its adequacy. He makes a physical gesture of comfort, yet she reaffirms her commitment to Scott, explaining the allure of dangerous men for temporary excitement while stability is sought in marriage. Despite his advances, she halts Logan's kiss, requesting him not to compel her, then exits. Kurt engages in conversation with Mystique, questioning the truth behind her ability as a shapeshifter. Mystique confirms her shapeshifting capability, but admits a preference for maintaining her neutral form whenever feasible. Meanwhile, Logan's attention is fixed on his dog tag until Jean unexpectedly enters and kisses him. His expression shifts to suspicion when he notices scars he inflicted on Mystique during a previous encounter. Revealed as Mystique, Jean remarks, "No one's ever left a scar quite like you," prompting Logan's sarcastic response, "What do you want, an apology?" As Mystique morphs between Jean, Rogue, and Aurora, Logan reacts angrily, kicking her upon realizing her awareness of his attraction to Jean. Transforming briefly into Stryker, Mystique departs. The following morning, they all fly in the jet. There, they all take their uniforms. The kids complain that they don't get uniforms, and Logan says that theirs are on order. They'll arrive in a few years. Out by the jet, the X-Men assemble to strategize the mission, utilizing a holographic, topographic map of the base. They observe that Stryker possesses the capability to flood the spillway should they infiltrate. Storm inquires of Nightcrawler if he can teleport them in, but he explains the necessity of visualizing the destination to avoid materializing within solid objects. Wolverine volunteers, suspecting Stryker's preference for his capture. Magneto emphasizes the need for someone familiar with the base's operation, directing his gaze toward Mystique. At Alkali Lake, Jean makes a startling revelation that Stryker's base lies beneath the surface. Taking on the guise of Wolverine, Mystique infiltrates the base, deceiving Stryker's forces into unwittingly facilitating the X-Men's entry. Inside the control room, Mystique observes as the doors are breached not by soldiers, but by the mutants who swiftly advance. Presenting them with a map of the facility, she highlights a crucial area, Cerebro, a large round chamber. Meanwhile, Logan, standing apart from the group, glimpses Stryker on a monitor. As the others strategize their next moves, with Storm and Nightcrawler tasked with rescuing the children and Jean, Magneto, and Mystique aiming to deactivate Cerebro, Storm notices Logan's absence. Descending a staircase, Wolverine is confronted by the chilling sight of what appears to be a surgical chamber, evoking memories of his darkest experiences. Positioned at the center is a conspicuous green tube containing an enigmatic liquid. Adorning the walls are X-ray images depicting skulls and claws, further intensifying Logan's unsettling recollections. Another haunting flashback grips him as he envisions himself submerged within the tube. His exploration leads him to a small pool containing liquid adamantium, accompanied by needles that trigger yet another painful memory of his past operation. Fixating on the tube, he recalls the moment of his emergence, naked and bewildered, witnessing his claws for the first time. The arrival of Stryker and Lady Deathstrike interrupts his introspection. Stryker elaborates on the necessity of maintaining adamantium in its molten state, emphasizing its near indestructible nature once cooled. With a cryptic remark about Wolverine's uniqueness, Stryker departs, leaving Logan to contemplate his unsettling revelations. He chases him, but Yuriko blocks his escape and throws him across the room, popping his claws and then watching in shock as she pulls out her own adamantium claws, 5 from each fingertip. She leaps at him and slices him across the face, and they fight, slicing each other. When she throws him at a wall and runs to him, he surprises her and brings his claws to her stomach, earning him the opportunity to strike her a few more times before she can react. She has just as good healing factor as his own though and recovers quickly. She throws him across the room and stabs him several times in the back before dropping him on an iron net platform above the tube. Standing beneath him, she continues stabbing him with her claws until he uses his claws to snap the poles that hold the platform in place, causing it to fall on her. Lady Deathstrike suddenly jumps at Wolverine from below and stabs him again as he is still recovering from his injuries. When he sees the needles, he grabs one, injects it with molten liquefied adamantium metal, and injects it into her. Although she was impaled by Wolverine, she managed to escape Stryker's control while she was still impaled, but there was no way for her to save herself now. He watched in horror as adamantium leaked out of her eyes, nose, and ears until she fell backward into the water tank with a thud as the metal hardened in her body. He takes the cable that keeps the helicopter on the ground off outside, but Wolverine arrives, punches him, and pops his claws into his arm as a result. Stryker tells Logan that he volunteered for the procedure willingly, while Logan yells at him for experimenting on him and stealing his life. When Logan asks Stryker who he is, he finds out that he's nothing more than a failed experiment, prompting him to dig his claws deeper into Stryker's arm in order to get answers. In order for Stryker to make sure the mutant doesn't remember the work they did together, he just gave him claws. He was an animal then, and he's an animal now. As soon as they heard the alarm, water burst out of the dam. As Logan asks Stryker what's happening, Stryker tells him that the spillway is about to flood because he was trying to relieve pressure. It's too late for anyone inside to escape, Stryker says, in an attempt to get out alive. He offers him to come with him and get all the answers he wants. He's a survivor. Wolverine repeats Stryker's previous words, saying he's only an animal with claws. If they die, he dies. He then pops his claws into Stryker's neck and ties him to the helicopter's leg with the cable before running back into the helicopter. As the dam continues to rupture, sending tremors throughout the entire structure, Jean frantically scans for the sole missing member, Logan. Meanwhile, Logan dashes through the corridors, driven by an urgent need to rescue his comrades. After successfully retrieving Cyclops and Professor X, the mutants hasten through the halls toward what they believe to be their only means of escape, the spillway. Arriving at the doors, they're startled as Logan emerges from a tunnel and swiftly disables the mechanism by plunging his claws into a fuse box, sealing the entrance before the impending deluge ensnares them. With conviction, Logan warns them against proceeding in that direction, and their fears are confirmed as water bursts through the cracks. Taking charge, Logan leads his friends down an alternate path to safety, guiding them away from the imminent danger of the flooding spillway. Outside, the water leakage from the dam ceases as it is diverted elsewhere. The mutants emerge onto snowy terrain, their relief short-lived as they realize the helicopter has vanished, commandeered by Magneto. Their attention is then drawn to the jet, careening erratically in the sky. Amidst the chaos, Rogue struggles to maintain control, ultimately crash-landing the aircraft into the snow. Both she and Bobby appear shaken, their heavy breaths betraying their fear as their companions rush aboard the jet. As Xavier is teleported inside by Kurt, Logan, still carrying Artie, gazes toward the woods, a determined expression on his face. Ignoring the jet, he heads towards the forest, perhaps driven by a sense of purpose or a need for solitude amidst the tumultuous events. In the heart of the woods, Logan confronts Stryker one final time, finding him bound to a concrete wall by chains. Stryker's taunts about the truth and the creature in Logan's arms prompt Wolverine to set Artie down. Discarding the dog tag Stryker once bestowed upon him, Logan asserts his choice to face the uncertainty of the future rather than linger in the torment of the past. Leaving Stryker to his fate, Logan strides away, deaf to Stryker's desperate cries of vengeance echoing behind him. As the woods swallow them, Artie responds with a defiant gesture, sticking out his blue tongue. In that moment, Wolverine and Artie Maddox become the last witnesses to Stryker's downfall, leaving the once powerful antagonist to his solitary end. In a harrowing scene, Jean valiantly battles the forces of nature, using one hand to stave off the encroaching water while simultaneously working to free the jet's leg from the snow. Scott, consumed by anguish, can only watch helplessly as Logan commands Kurt to rescue her, but Kurt laments that she refuses his aid. In a moment of heartbreaking farewell, Jean speaks through Xavier's telepathy, assuring them that she understands the sacrifice she's making, emphasizing that it's the only way. Despite Scott's desperate pleas, Jean remains resolute, bidding her farewells. With her body and eyes ablaze with an orange glow, she miraculously frees the jet and lifts it into the air. With her last act, she relinquishes her telekinetic hold, allowing the water to engulf her as her companions look on in grief. Scott's devastation is palpable as he collapses into Logan's arms, overwhelmed by the magnitude of the tragedy. Every member of the team is overcome with sorrow as the jet soars above what has now become a vast expanse of water, a solemn testament to Jean's sacrifice. In the heart of Washington, a dramatic scene unfolds as Professor X utilizes his telepathic abilities to freeze everyone in President McKenna's office, allowing the X-Men to infiltrate unnoticed. Darkened skies and lightning strikes add an ominous backdrop as the mutants confront the president, Storm's eyes radiating with an otherworldly glow illuminated by the lightning. President McKenna, visibly shaken by the sight of the mutants, particularly Nightcrawler, is greeted with a calm good morning from Professor X, who assures him they mean no harm. In response to the President's inquiry about their identity, Xavier introduces himself and explains that they are mutants. Rogue places incriminating documents on the President's desk, revealing they were obtained from the private office of William Stryker. Curious about how they acquired such sensitive information, the President is met with Xavier's cryptic response about a girl who can pass through walls. Expressing skepticism, the President warns against threats, prompting Xavier to clarify that this is an opportunity, not a threat. He highlights the looming specter of conflict, emphasizing the casualties suffered by both humans and mutants in previous confrontations. Xavier implores the President to consider the gravity of the moment, presenting it as a choice between repeating past mistakes or forging a path toward a better future. Asserting their presence and vigilance, Logan underscores their commitment to monitoring the situation closely. With a final flash of lightning illuminating their faces, the mutants vanish, leaving the President to grapple with the weight of their message and the sudden return to normalcy. As the President faces the awaiting cameras, his mind undoubtedly churns with uncertainty, unsure of how to navigate the delicate balance of power and responsibility in the wake of this encounter. In Xavier's study, Scott gazes out the window, his thoughts consumed by the recent loss of Jean. Xavier reflects on Jean's lifelong struggle with her powers, noting her tendency to doubt herself and seek validation from others, fearing she was somehow falling behind. With a choked voice, Scott questions whether they could have done more to save her, to which Xavier gently suggests that perhaps, in the past, Jean might have allowed them to. Logan, unable to comprehend Jean's decision to leave the plane, seeks clarity from Xavier, who simply states that Jean made a choice. As students begin to enter the classroom, including Artie, Jones, Bobby, Moonstar, and Jubilee, Logan and Scott depart, continuing their conversation outside. Logan remarks that Jean's choice was clear, it was Scott. However, Scott, while acknowledging the truth in Logan's words, finds little solace in them as he walks away, still grappling with the weight of Jean's sacrifice and the complex emotions it evoked. X-Men: The Last Stand. In the midst of an apocalyptic battle, X-Men and students alike find themselves engulfed in chaos as enemy fire rains down, decimating buildings and igniting flames all around. Amidst the pandemonium, students scramble through the turmoil while Storm takes to the air, skillfully evading the onslaught. As danger looms, Rogue and Colossus find themselves in the path of a colossal flying rock hurtling toward them. Reacting with instinctive valor, Peter transforms into Steel, intercepting the projectile and diverting its trajectory toward Wolverine. The rock collides with Logan's head, but he simply shrugs off the blow, swiftly regenerating any damage. Disappointed by the passive response of his students in the face of such dire circumstances, Logan implores them to follow him, his voice laced with urgency. Recognizing the need for action in a world descending into chaos, Logan leads the charge, his students rallying behind them as they surge forward into the fray. In a moment of casual defiance, Logan ignites his cigar with a burning log, displaying his trademark nonchalance even in the face of impending danger. However, his demeanor shifts when Aurora rushes to him in a panic, alerting him to the peril faced by the students. Logan grimly acknowledges their lack of readiness, a sentiment shared by Aurora, who anxiously pushes him away just in time to avoid an incoming blast, much to Logan's annoyance at losing his cigar. As they brace for the imminent threat hurtling toward them from the sky, Logan resigns himself to the reality that his students are not yet equipped to handle such dire situations. With a decisive action, he activates his claws and calls upon Colossus, instructing him to launch him toward the oncoming enemy. Despite Storm's objections, Colossus, once again transforming into Steel, hurls Wolverine towards the enemy with incredible force. Amidst the resounding clash, a destroyed Sentinel head crashes to the ground, with Logan perched triumphantly upon it. As the enemy retreats, Wolverine dismisses the impromptu lesson, signaling the end of simulation. With the Danger Room returning to its tranquil state, Logan offers a nod of approval to Colossus for his impressive throw, a rare compliment from the grizzled mentor. Exiting the Danger Room, Storm confronts Wolverine with simmering anger, admonishing him for unilaterally altering the rules of the training session. She emphasizes the importance of imparting specific lessons to the students. Logan, however, defends his actions, arguing that he did indeed teach them something valuable, asserting that the best defense is a strong offense. Or was it the other way around? Unmoved by his flippant attitude, Storm reiterates that their training is not a game. Frustrated by his dismissiveness, she suggests taking up the matter with Scott if there's an issue. With tension simmering between them, Logan's brusque response signals the end of the conversation, leaving Storm to contemplate her next course of action. In the hallway, Scott passes by Logan, who remarks that they were waiting for him downstairs, but he didn't appear. Cyclops responds curtly, questioning why Logan cares. Wolverine explains that he had to cover for Scott, prompting Cyclops to insist that he didn't ask him to. However, Logan reveals that it was the professor's request. Attempting to distance himself from the conversation, Scott tries to walk away, but Logan grabs his arm. urging him to acknowledge his feelings about Jean's death and consider moving forward. Scott, however, remains resolute, asserting that not everyone heals as quickly as Logan does, before turning and leaving Logan behind. As Beast arrives at the X Mansion and is greeted by Storm and Professor X, Logan enters the scene and casually inquires, "Who's the furball?" Hank introduces himself as the Secretary of Mutant Affairs, prompting Logan to offer a sarcastic compliment on his attire. Xavier proceeds to introduce Logan to Hank, but Beast interjects, revealing that he's already heard of Wolverine, indicating the legendary reputation that precedes him in mutant circles. As Storm interrupts, voicing her certainty that Magneto will seek to retrieve Mystique, Beast interjects, asserting that Magneto isn't the most imminent threat. He reveals that a prominent pharmaceutical company has developed a mutant antibody, a supposed cure intended to permanently suppress the mutant X gene. The news hangs heavily in the air, momentarily silencing the room as the gravity of the revelation sinks in. Storm is the first to react, rejecting the notion of curing being a mutant, questioning when they became viewed as a disease. Xavier intervenes, sensing the significance of the moment, indicating that the announcement is imminent. The tension in the room palpable, the X-Men grapple with the implications of this newfound threat to their identity and existence. In the midst of heated discussion, Storm questions who would willingly opt for this supposed cure, denouncing the act as cowardly conformity. Beast counters, suggesting that seeking refuge from persecution doesn't necessarily equate to cowardice, reminding her that not all mutants can seamlessly assimilate into society. Wolverine posits that the government may have played a role in orchestrating the cure, but Beast refutes this notion, asserting his long-standing dedication to mutant rights. Angrily, he points out that he's been advocating for their cause long before Logan even had claws. Their argument is abruptly halted as Rogue enters the room, seeking clarity on the matter at hand. An unsettling aura permeates the air as Professor Xavier senses Cyclops' distress. Throughout the school, Scott's name echoes telepathically, signaling that something has gone terribly awry. Reacting swiftly to the palpable tension, Wolverine and Storm race through the corridors in a state of hysteria, their minds racing with apprehension about the unknown crisis unfolding. Upon reaching Xavier's office, they burst through the door, their expressions wrought with concern as they inquire about his well-being. Xavier, his demeanor grave, instructs them urgently to all make their way to Alkali Lake, the urgency in his voice underscoring the severity of the situation. With a sense of foreboding hanging heavy in the air, Wolverine and Storm waste no time in heeding their mentor's directive, knowing that the fate of their comrades hangs in the balance. Back at Alkali Lake, the Blackbird descends through the dense fog, landing with cautious precision. Wolverine and Storm emerge, their apprehension palpable as they navigate the eerie surroundings. Logan grumbles about the thick fog obscuring their vision, but Aurora assures him that she can remedy that. With a determined focus, her eyes begin to radiate a brilliant white light, dispersing the fog and revealing the surreal sight before them. Small rocks, leaves, and droplets of water suspended in midair. Amidst the astonishment of this phenomenon, the two X-Men decide to split up to explore the area. As Logan ventures forth, he stumbles upon a startling discovery, a pair of ruby glasses suspended among the floating debris. Recognizing them as Scott's, he grasps them tightly, his heart heavy with concern for his friend. Before he can dwell any further, a piercing scream rends the air, prompting Logan to swiftly rush to Aurora's side. There, amidst the surreal tableau, he finds Storm kneeling beside Jean Grey's still yet miraculously alive body. The gravity of the situation weighs heavily upon them as they confront the inexplicable sight before them, unsure of what lies ahead. In the solemn confines of the school's infirmary, Logan and Professor X stand vigil at Jean's bedside. Xavier reveals to Logan the improbable survival of Jean, explaining that the overwhelming force of the collapsing water should have utterly destroyed her. Yet her innate powers manifested in a remarkable display, encasing her in a protective cocoon of telekinetic energy. Concern etched in his features, Logan inquires about Jean's prognosis. Xavier acknowledges the gravity of the situation, describing Jean as a Class 5 mutant, a designation reserved for individuals with incomprehensible potential. However, he underscores the inherent danger posed by Jean's powers, which reside in the depths of her unconscious mind. Xavier elucidates Jean's unique predicament, recounting how in her youth he constructed psychic barriers within her mind to partition her formidable abilities from her conscious awareness. Consequently, she developed a dual personality, the conscious Jean, whose powers remained under control, and a dormant persona that identified itself as the Phoenix, a primal, instinctual entity lying dormant within her psyche. As Logan absorbs this revelation, the weight of the situation becomes even more profound, with the fate of Jean Grey hanging precariously in the balance. He turns to Xavier with a probing question, inquiring whether Jean was aware of her dual nature. Xavier responds with uncertainty, acknowledging the ambiguity surrounding Jean's awareness. However, he emphasizes that their immediate concern lies in discerning whether the human lying before them is the Jean Grey they recognize or the volatile force of the Phoenix, fervently seeking liberation. Expressing his observation that Jean appears tranquil, Logan suggests that she seems at peace. However, Xavier offers a sobering insight, explaining that her apparent calmness is a result of his efforts to maintain it. He discloses his ongoing endeavor to reinstate these psychic barriers, endeavoring to confine the Phoenix within its mental prison once more. As Logan processes this revelation, the weight of their predicament becomes increasingly apparent, with the delicate balance between Jean's humanity and the unfathomable power of the Phoenix hanging precariously in the balance. Frustrated and incensed by the gravity of the situation, Logan directs his anger towards Xavier, questioning the ethics of his actions. He angrily demands to know what he's done to Jean, emphasizing the sanctity of her mind and identity. Xavier, attempting to justify his actions, implores Logan to understand the necessity of controlling Jean's formidable powers. However, Logan counters, warning of the repercussions of suppressing the primal instincts within her. He cautions that confining the beast may only serve to stoke its fury. In a moment of vulnerability, Xavier admits to the agonizing choice he was forced to make, defending his decisions as the lesser of two evils. However, Logan remains unconvinced, asserting that it appears Jean had no say in the matter at all. The tension between them reaches a breaking point as Xavier, feeling the weight of Logan's accusations, concedes defeat, refusing to justify his actions any further. With a sense of resignation, he returns the focus to Jean's mind, while Logan, consumed by anger and disillusionment, storms out of the room, leaving the weight of their conflict hanging heavy. In the somber atmosphere of the school's infirmary, Logan stands vigil by Jean's bedside, his concern etched across his features. Observing the intricate mental helmet attached to her head, he reaches out to tenderly touch her shoulder. Suddenly, Jean's hand darts forward, grasping his firmly, a sign of her returning consciousness. With a surge of telekinetic power, Jean effortlessly removes the helmet, her eyes fluttering open to meet Logan's gaze. He greets her with a soft utterance of her name, extending a warm welcome back. Jean, her voice filled with a hint of nostalgia, remarks on the irony of their current situation, reminiscent of their initial encounter when their roles were reversed. Logan, sensing the weight of the moment, gently inquires about her well-being. With a reassuring smile, Jean affirms that she's more than okay. Slowly, she rises from her prone position, her movements deliberate as she liberates herself from the array of medical instruments, signaling her return to strength and autonomy. As Jean playfully remarks about Logan making her blush, he jests back, asking if she's delving into his thoughts. Drawing closer to each other, they share a tender moment, their lips meeting in a passionate kiss. However, the intimacy is short-lived as Jean's demeanor abruptly shifts, her expression taking on a forceful intensity. Without warning, inexplicable wounds begin to manifest on Logan's body, causing him excruciating pain. Jean's actions become increasingly aggressive, her telekinetic powers inflicting harm upon him. Struggling against the agony, Logan attempts to interfere, pleading for her to stop. With a sense of urgency, Logan realizes that this isn't the Jean he knows. As he tries to reason with her, Jean remains steadfast, insisting that her actions are indeed her own. Recognizing the gravity of the situation, Logan retreats cautiously, urging Jean to exercise restraint and reminding her of the professor's warning about potential changes in her demeanor. The atmosphere crackles with tension as Logan grapples with the unsettling realization that Jean's newfound power may pose a grave threat to them all. Hearing Xavier's name, Jean turns cold and sarcastically says the professor would know, suggesting he's in their heads all the time. She tells Logan that Xavier tamed him, but Logan realizes that the professor was right and that the woman in front of him is not the Jean he knows. Now very worried about Cyclops' safety, Logan asks Jean where's Scott. As Jean briefly regains her usual composure, she expresses confusion, inquiring about her whereabouts. Logan swiftly informs her that she's back at the mansion and presses for information about Scott's whereabouts. However, Jean's confusion persists and she remains silent, her gaze drifting around the room. In an effort to jog her memory, Logan presents Scott's glasses, prompting Jean's recollection of her emergence from the water and her encounter with Scott. With a sense of distress, she closes her eyes, and an ominous tremor ripples through the room. Suddenly, the glasses shatter into fragments in Logan's hand, a manifestation of the turmoil brewing within Jean's mind. As the room quakes with intensity, Logan braces himself for the tumultuous events yet to unfold. Jean's expression remains trapped in a haze of confusion and disorientation. Logan, desperate to anchor her in reality, grasps her shoulders firmly, urging her to focus and maintain contact with him. Despite his pleas, Jean's inner turmoil intensifies, her mind besieged by the relentless struggle for control. In a moment of heartbreaking vulnerability, Jean's anguish spills forth in tears as she implores Logan to end her suffering before she inflicts harm upon others. Refusing to entertain the notion of Jean's demise, Logan reassures her that they can find a solution, urging her to seek help from Professor Xavier. However, Jean's inner conflict erupts once more, rejecting the prospect of redemption. With a surge of telekinetic force, she hurls Logan against the wall, rendering him unconscious. As Wolverine lies incapacitated, the formidable presence of the Phoenix asserts itself, shattering the confines of the room with effortless telekinetic power. With a single determined stride, the Phoenix, embodying Jean's darkest fears and desires, tears open the imposing steel door, poised to confront the world outside. As the dust settles, the weight of Jean's internal struggle hangs heavy in the air. As Storm and Professor X enter the room to find Wolverine still lying unconscious on the floor, Ororo immediately attends to Logan, gently rousing him from his stupor. Concern etched on her features, she inquires about what transpired, but Logan's focus remains fixated on the whereabouts of Jean. With a sinking feeling of dread, Xavier confronts Logan, his worst fears looming large. Logan recounts his harrowing suspicion that Jean may have been responsible for Scott's disappearance, a revelation that sends shockwaves through the room. Storm protests the notion, refusing to accept such a grim possibility. Furious and distraught, Xavier admonishes Logan, his warnings echoing in the aftermath of this dire turn of events. Desperate to ascertain Jean's whereabouts, Xavier attempts to reach out to her telepathically, only to encounter formidable resistance. Her strength and resolve are staggering, casting a shadow of uncertainty over their hopes of finding her in time. Xavier solemnly acknowledges the grim reality that they may be facing a threat beyond their control. With Jean's powers spiraling out of bounds, the stakes have never been higher, leaving them to confront the chilling possibility that it may already be too late to save her. As the car comes to a halt outside the Grey residence, the trio of X-Men emerges, accompanied by a tense aura of apprehension. Xavier, bearing a solemn expression, instructs Logan and Ororo to remain outside while he confronts Jean alone, recognizing the delicate nature of their situation. Their arrival, however, is met with an unexpected encounter as Magneto materializes before them, his presence casting a shadow of uncertainty over the already fraught atmosphere. In response to Logan's inquiry, Magneto offers a cryptic explanation, stating that he is simply paying a visit to an old acquaintance, mirroring Xavier's intentions. Xavier, wary of the potential for conflict, urges Magneto to refrain from causing trouble, a sentiment echoed by the magnetic mutant himself. Despite their mutual understanding, Magneto extends an invitation to proceed inside, signaling a tentative truce as they venture toward the heart of the Grey residence, their shared purpose overshadowed by the looming specter of uncertainty and apprehension. Outside, the X-Men and the Brotherhood watch as the White Gate shuts itself. Logan says he's going in, but Ororo stops him, reminding him that the professor told them to wait outside. As the tension outside the Grey residence escalates, Logan's resolve crystallizes into action, his instincts urging him to confront the looming threat head-on. With a resolute snick, his adamantium claws extend. He extends his adamantium claws. In response, Juggernaut, embodying brute strength, dons his imposing helmet, a harbinger of the impending clash. With thundering footsteps reverberating through the air, the two adversaries charge towards each other, their paths converging in a collision course of raw power. Despite Logan's ferocious tenacity, Juggernaut asserts his overwhelming might, effortlessly overpowering Wolverine and sending him crashing to the ground. With a forceful grasp, Juggernaut seizes Logan and hurls him through the front window of the residence, shattering glass and splintering wood. Storm takes to the skies, her mastery over the elements poised to tip the scales of battle. Logan crashes into the dining table, splintering its sturdy frame. Juggernaut's relentless assault against Wolverine continues unabated, each blow and strike propelling Logan through the house with unyielding force. Furniture shatters, walls crumble, and the once tranquil surroundings are reduced to a scene of devastation. Despite Wolverine's efforts to retaliate, his adamantium claws find purchase against Juggernaut's formidable defenses, inflicting a fleeting distraction but failing to stem the tide of the Juggernaut's onslaught. Amidst the chaos, Callisto adds her own formidable prowess to the fray, further complicating the X-Men's desperate struggle to fend off the relentless assault. Wolverine resorts to utilizing his claws as makeshift anchors, driving them into the ceiling and leveraging their grip to propel himself through the chaotic environment. Despite the relentless force of Jean's telekinetic hold, Logan persists, each pull a testament to his unwavering resolve. Struggling against the invisible force that binds him, Wolverine navigates through the turmoil, inching closer to the living room where the heart of the conflict unfolds. With Herculean effort, he reaches the door, wrenching it open just in time to witness the harrowing spectacle unfolding within. He stands witness to the unimaginable, as Charles Xavier's form is ensnared by the tumultuous currents of Jean's unleashed power. Helplessly rooted to their respective positions, Logan and Eric watch in disbelief as Jean, consumed by the unfathomable depths of her abilities, unleashes her formidable powers upon her former mentor. A brief, fleeting moment of eerie silence descends upon the chaos, enveloping Jean and Xavier in a surreal stillness that seems to defy the chaos raging around them. In this suspended moment, time appears to slow to a crawl, granting them a precious few moments of poignant clarity amidst the turmoil. Sensing the gravity of the situation, Xavier offers his final words to Jean, his voice imbued with a sense of solemn resignation as he implores her to resist the overwhelming power threatening to consume her. With a gentle smile etched upon his features, he beseeches her to maintain control, his words carrying the weight of a final farewell. Then, in a flash of incomprehensible devastation, the unthinkable unfolds before their eyes. Xavier's form erupts in a blinding explosion of light and energy, his physical presence dissipating into the ether before their astonished gaze. Witnessing the unimaginable spectacle, Wolverine and Magneto stand in stunned disbelief, their hearts heavy with the realization that they have borne witness to the loss of a beloved mentor and friend. Following Magneto and Jean's departure, Logan and Aurora rush into what was once the living room, only to discover an empty wheelchair. With tears in their eyes and heavy breaths, they exchange glances, realizing their revered mentor is no more. Logan collapses to his knees, his cries of no echoing through the room, rendered helpless by the loss. Aurora succumbs to tears, collapsing onto his back, embracing him. The two formidable X-Men are left alone amidst the wreckage of the house, facing an empty wheelchair, their sobs filling the silence. In Xavier's mansion the following day, Xavier's study holds the wheelchair, now devoid of its usual occupant. Outside in the front yard, Aurora leads a memorial service for Charles Xavier, attended by all his students. Logan stands apart from the crowd, listening from a distance, solitary as ever. Rogue gazes at him while Aurora proceeds with her eulogy. At the end, Logan walks away, with all others present standing up. One walks to his memorial and puts a flower on it. Disheartened by her ongoing struggle to make physical contact with her boyfriend, Rogue gathers her belongings and exits her room. As she makes her way up, she encounters Logan, who offers her a ride. Politely declining, she braces herself for his potential attempt to dissuade her. However, instead of deterring her, Logan inquires about her destination. Perceiving his inquiry as a possible intervention, she begins to express her frustration, asserting that he couldn't possibly understand the fear of her own abilities, the fear of forming intimate connections. To her surprise, Logan counters, affirming that he does comprehend. She continues, articulating her desire to experience the sensation of touching others, longing for the warmth of a hug, the familiarity of a handshake, or the intimacy of a kiss. Logan expresses his hope that Rogue isn't making her decision for the sake of a boy. She stays silent, uncertain of how to respond. He reassures her that if she's truly set on leaving, then she has his blessing, as long as she's certain that it's what she truly wants. Confused by this unexpected response, Rogue questions whether he's supposed to instruct her to return upstairs and unpack. Logan clarifies he's not in a paternal role, he's her friend. He advises Rogue to ponder his words. She corrects him, reminding him that her name is Marie. With that, he walks away, and she continues on her journey out. Back at the school, Wolverine, Storm, Beast, Iceman, and Kitty convene to discuss the future of the institution. Hank reflects that Professor Xavier founded the school and suggests that perhaps it should conclude with his passing. He informs Bobby that they'll need to inform the students that they must depart, but Bobby counters, noting that many of them have no other place to call home. He advocates for fighting to preserve the school. Before anyone can respond, a newcomer enters the room. It's Warren Worthington III, the mutant known as Angel. He apologizes for arriving at an inopportune moment, but explains that he was informed that this is a haven for mutants. Beast sorrowfully informs him that it once was, but Aurora interjects, asserting that it still is. She assures Warren that they will arrange accommodation for him, and instructs Hank to inform the students that the school will remain open, much to Iceman's joy. Outside, Logan makes his way to Xavier's memorial. Suddenly, Jean's voice starts whispering his name repeatedly in his head. Startled, he turns around, searching for the source, but the voice only grows louder. He calls out her name, and images of the forest flood his mind alongside her voice. Overwhelmed, Logan collapses to his knees, clutching his stomach in anguish as Jean's voice persists. Then, as suddenly as it began, the voice ceases, and Logan gazes up at Xavier's visage sculpted in the memorial. Without delay, he departs to make preparations. Storm intercepts him, questioning his destination and informing him that Jean is gone. She won't return. Logan refutes this, insisting that Storm doesn't know for certain, but Aurora reminds him that Jean is responsible for the professor's death. Wolverine maintains that it wasn't Jean. The Jean he knows still exists within her. Storm challenges him to confront the truth and let go of Jean, suggesting that his reluctance stems from his love for her. She asserts that Jean made her decision and now it's time for them to make theirs. If he stands with them, she declares, then he should not be here. With her piece said, Storm exits the room. However, Wolverine chooses not to heed her words and departs the mansion on his motorcycle. Wolverine navigates through the forest where the Brotherhood is encamped, relying on his heightened senses to guide him. Using his acute sense of smell, he tracks down their exact location. Once he pinpoints a specific direction, he extends his claws and begins to sprint, only to be abruptly halted by two large spikes piercing his shoulders. Despite the injury, he swiftly rises to his feet to confront his assailant, a member of the Brotherhood known as Spike, poised for another attack. Logan retreats, evading a barrage of spikes hurled at him with remarkable agility. Nearby, another Brotherhood member with enhanced hearing detects the commotion and recognizes that trouble is afoot. Alongside several other mutants, he rushes to aid Spike. Spike relentlessly pursues Logan, continuing to launch projectiles at him. Logan seeks temporary refuge behind a tree, taking a moment to extract the spike embedded in his shoulder using his claws. He bides his time, anticipating Spike's next assault, then swiftly emerges from hiding, redirecting one of Spike's projectiles back at him with a precise strike of his claws. The attack connects, causing Spike to stumble and fall. However, Logan remains vigilant, aware of the imminent arrival of more mutants, sensing their approach through his heightened instincts. With urgency, Wolverine ascends the tree and lies in wait, poised for action. As the Brotherhood mutants draw near, he descends upon them with ferocious speed, catching them off guard and swiftly incapacitating them in a frenzied rage, his claws slashing through the defenses one by one. Despite Spike's attempts to retaliate, Wolverine deflects his projectiles with expert precision, closing the distance between them with each step. In a climactic confrontation, both mutants launch themselves at each other, resulting in a collision that leaves them both wounded. Wolverine rises to his feet, enduring the pain of the spikes embedded in his stomach, yet emerging victorious as Spike bears the brunt of his slashing claws. With determination, Wolverine retracts his claws and removes the spikes from his body before pressing on towards the Brotherhood's camp, undeterred by his injuries. A speech is being given by Magneto to the others in the camp. Logan arrives in the middle and steals a cloak from a tent to cover himself. Magneto tells his followers that humans wish to cure them, but he says that mutants are the cure. Everyone cheers and Magneto goes on, saying that they are the cure for that imperfect condition called Homo sapiens. Humans have their weapons, but mutants have theirs, he says as he looks at Phoenix. They'll strike with a vengeance and a fury this world has never witnessed, and if any mutants stand in their way, then they will use the cure against them. Logan stands in the crowd and listens as Magneto details his plan. They will go to Alcatraz Island, take control of the cure and destroy its source, and then nothing can stop them. As Phoenix catches sight of Wolverine amidst the crowd, he senses her gaze upon him and quickly moves to distance himself from the camp. Observing her departure, he calls out her name, prompting her to turn toward him. However, before she can respond, Magneto intervenes, hurling Logan forcefully into a nearby tree, inflicting injury upon him. Magneto confronts Wolverine, taunting him with the declaration that he can discern the distinctive scent of adamantium from a considerable distance. Logan asserts that he hasn't come to engage in combat with Magneto, he's there for Jean. Eric questions whether Wolverine believes he's holding Jean against her will, but when Logan remains silent, Eric asserts that Jean is present of her own volition. Exerting his magnetic powers, Eric suspends Wolverine in the air, prompting Logan to warn him about underestimating Jean's capabilities. Magneto retorts that he's well aware, having witnessed the devastation she wrought upon Charles. Undeterred, Wolverine insists he won't depart without Jean, but Magneto disagrees, using his powers to forcefully propel Logan far into the distance. Wolverine's trajectory is halted only when he collides with a towering tree, leaving him battered and wounded on the ground below. Frantically barging into the school, Wolverine urgently calls out for Storm. Rushing to his side, she inquires about his abrupt return. With palpable urgency, he divulges that he encountered Jean alongside Magneto, but they're on the move, with their destination known to him. Beast joins them, seeking confirmation from Logan about his sighting of Magneto. Logan affirms this, stressing the immediate need to act before the Brotherhood launches an attack on Alcatraz. Hank raises concerns about the government's military presence on the island, but Wolverine remains adamant that it won't be sufficient to deter Magneto. Hastening their preparations, Angel inadvertently overhears their conversation, realizing his father's peril and the urgent need for assistance. A few minutes later, Beast and Wolverine stand clad in uniforms within the mansion's tunnels. Wolverine stresses to Hank the dire consequences if Magneto obtains the cure, asserting that he would become an unstoppable force. Hank inquires about the size of Magneto's forces, prompting Logan to reveal that he commands an entire army. As they rendezvous with Storm, Iceman, Kitty, and Colossus, Bobby voices concern over their limited numbers. Wolverine pauses, addressing the young students directly. He acknowledges their outnumbered status, the losses they have suffered with Scott and the Professor, but he refuses to allow their legacy to perish. With resolve, he declares that they must confront the threat now or risk the annihilation of everything their mentors fought to uphold. Iceman nods in solidarity. Wolverine asserts their unity, proclaiming them all as X-Men. Bobby shares a glance with Kitty and Peter, receiving affirmations of readiness from both. He then reaffirms their commitment to Logan, declaring their readiness for the impending battle. With resolve, the X-Men march towards the awaiting Blackbird, prepared for the most significant confrontation of their lives. During the journey, Wolverine confides in Storm that the young recruits are prepared for the upcoming struggle. She acknowledges their readiness but questions whether he himself is prepared for what lies ahead. Without a definitive answer, they proceed to board the Blackbird, departing for San Francisco. In the rear of the aircraft, the trio of young mutants sit in silence, their apprehension palpable yet tempered by determination. Though fearful, they are resolute in their readiness to face whatever challenges await them. As the Blackbird hurtles toward the unfolding chaos at breakneck speed, the X-Men are awestruck by the sight of the Golden Gate Bridge and the escalating conflict below. It's far more dire than they had ever anticipated. Callisto senses an approaching presence, and as the Blackbird touches down on the rooftop, Storm descends from the heavens, unleashing bolts of lightning upon the battleground. With precision and agility, Beast leaps from the rooftop, landing with the grace of a true beast. Iceman and Kitty follow suit, seamlessly phasing through the ground to evade danger before re-emerging unscathed. Colossus joins them, his metallic form providing formidable protection as he lands. Wolverine follows, using his claws to slow his descent by scratching against the walls. As Storm touches down beside him, Wolverine urges the humans to seek safety and secure the doors. Turning to his fellow X-Men, he commands them to stand together and form a unified front. In an instant, the 6 mutants align themselves in front of the Brotherhood, ready to defend against the onslaught, steeling themselves for the battle of their lives. Wolverine lashes out, slicing through a nearby light pole with his adamantium claws, sending it crashing down into the charging Brotherhood, claiming several of their ranks. The skirmish erupts into full-blown combat, with Wolverine and Beast unleashing their ferocious animalistic assaults upon the advancing Brotherhood members. With lightning speed and unrelenting fury, they swiftly incapacitate their adversaries, paving the way for the X-Men's defense. From his elevated position on the hill, Magneto issues a chilling command to Juggernaut: infiltrate the building, locate the boy, and eliminate him without hesitation. With a sinister grin, Juggernaut easily accepts the task, expressing his anticipation for the deed ahead as he barrels toward the structure. Observing Juggernaut's charge, Wolverine swiftly comprehends the imminent threat, while Beast recognizes the urgency of the situation. Without hesitation, Kitty springs into action, effortlessly phasing through any obstacle obstructing her path. In the midst of the chaos, Wolverine finds himself confronted by a formidable adversary named Starfish, whose mutant ability allows him to regenerate his organs with astonishing speed. Logan attempts to employ his tried-and-true method of slashing his opponent, only to find his efforts futile as Starfish swiftly regenerates his severed limbs and retaliates with relentless strikes whenever Wolverine lowers his guard. Frustrated by his inability to gain the upper hand, Logan resorts to a more direct approach, delivering a swift and decisive kick to Starfish's groin, causing the mutant to crumple to the ground in pain. With a smirk of satisfaction, Logan quips, "Grow those back," before turning his attention to the next opponent, undeterred by the formidable challenges that lay ahead. Amidst the chaos of battle, both Beast and Wolverine succumb to berserker rages, unleashing their primal fury upon the ranks of the Brotherhood, swiftly incapacitating multiple adversaries with relentless ferocity. In the midst of the carnage, Wolverine jests to Beast about his diplomatic demeanor, expressing surprise at his current state. Hank begins to offer a response, suggesting that there comes a time when all men must, but his sentence is abruptly interrupted as he resumes pummeling more mutants with unrestrained vigor. With a frustrated exclamation, he halts mid-sentence and simply shouts to Logan, "Oh, you get the point," before diving back into the fray with renewed intensity. As a flaming car is launched towards them, Wolverine urgently shouts to his fellow X-Men, telling them to seek shelter from the impending onslaught. Seeking refuge behind a sturdy column, Storm narrowly avoids being struck by the flaming debris raining down around them. She gestures for Wolverine and their comrades to join her in seeking better cover. Amidst the chaos, they spot one of the cure guns lying nearby, a potent symbol of the tumultuous events unfolding. Surveying the apocalyptic scene surrounding them, the X-Men find themselves at a pivotal juncture, faced with a crucial decision. Wolverine invokes Storm's earlier counsel from their Danger Room session, reminding her of the importance of teamwork. In response, Storm recalls his own words, emphasizing the value of a proactive approach. The best defense is indeed a good offense. In this moment of uncertainty and peril, the X-Men must reconcile their differing philosophies and unite in a common purpose: drawing strength from their collective resolve to confront the challenges ahead. Logan turns to Bobby and asks him if he thinks that he can take down his old friend Pyro. Bobby nods and runs out of the cover, using his ice powers to freeze one of the flying cars in the air, turning off the flames before it explodes. Acknowledging the need for cover, Wolverine communicates his intentions to Storm, who swiftly comprehends his request. With a nod of understanding, she harnesses the power of the elements, conjuring a thick fog that shrouds the battlefield in obscurity. Meanwhile, atop the hill, Magneto and Phoenix find themselves at a disadvantage as they search for their adversaries amidst the swirling fog. Hindered by this, their attempts to locate the remaining X-Men are thwarted. Through the fog, Wolverine spotted Magneto and pointed him at Colossus. Colossus, just like in the Danger Room, grabbed Wolverine and spun him around, throwing him at Magneto. However, it failed as Magneto saw Wolverine and used his powers to stop Logan. Eric flips Logan on his back, telling him he never learns. Logan falls to the ground and slides on his stomach, stopping right before Magneto's legs. A moment later, Beast leaps at Magneto from behind and injects him with the cure that they took from the gun. Suddenly, Magneto drops to his knees, realizing he's now human, and falls back. As he rolls on the ground, he tells Jean that the other humans and X-Men wish them well. "Jean, it's over," Logan declares to his beloved, the final standing of the Brotherhood. The soldiers exploit the ensuing science to fire cure guns at her. Logan urgently implores them to stop, but it's too late. Jean intercepts the shots telekinetically and pivots, indicating that the situation is not yet resolved. Wolverine cries no as Phoenix ascends into the air and causes all the light poles to explode. Once more, a telekinetic storm begins to brew. Beast urgently shouts for everyone to evacuate the building, and in a panic, they all flee. Kitty and Leech manage to exit the building and encounter Iceman, and together they make their escape. Observing Phoenix's chaotic display, Eric whispers, "What have I done?" Terrified, he then joins the others in their rush toward the bridge. Storm rushes toward Wolverine, who confides in her that he's the sole individual capable of halting Phoenix. He instructs her to ensure everyone's safety and evacuate, prompting her to take flight. Despite his pleas to Jean, she remains unresponsive. Amidst the devastation surrounding them, Logan once more calls out Jean's name, expressing his belief that she remains someone within Phoenix entity. Determined, he begins advancing towards Phoenix, yet she restrains him with her formidable powers. Despite the resistance, he persists in his slow approach. With only a short distance separating them, Phoenix perched atop the hill and Wolverine slightly below, he perseveres, utilizing his claws to anchor himself to the ground and propel forward. After an arduous journey, he finally reaches her and stands before Phoenix. Astonished by his determination to reach her, Phoenix speaks for the first time since setting foot on Alcatraz Island, asking Logan if he's truly willing to sacrifice himself for them. "No," he responds resolutely, "not for them, for you." At these words, the essence of Jean Grey briefly resurfaces within Phoenix, tearfully pleading with him to save her. Professing his love, Logan fulfills what he knows he must do, and what she asked of him previously in the infirmary. He extends his claws into her abdomen, ending the life of the woman he adores. In her final moments, Jean gazes at him silently, a smile gracing her lips. It's over. Collapsing into his arms, he weeps. The following day, in a separate room, Logan observes the president delivering a televised speech from the White House. He introduces Dr. Hank McCoy as the new ambassador to the United Nations. As the president shakes Hank's hand, Logan silently congratulates him, thinking, "Way to go, furball." Exiting the room, he gazes upon the school, now entrusted to him and Storm for its leadership. The Wolverine. After 2006, Logan retreated to the Canadian wilderness, where he also reclaimed the memories he lost in 1979. Residing in seclusion amidst the forest, he only ventures into town when necessary for supplies. Plagued with haunting guilt over Jean Grey's demise and tormented by memories of past wars and deaths, Logan endeavors once more to embrace a peaceful existence, striving to forsake his tumultuous life of violence. Following a skirmish in a bar, Yukio tracks him down and escorts him to Japan to reunite with Yashida, the man he had rescued from the Nagasaki bombing in 1945, now the head of the Yashida Corporation. Upon meeting him, Logan discovers that the elder man desires to reciprocate by transferring Logan's immortality to himself, as he is afflicted with cancer. Despite Yashida's plea, Logan declines the offer. He then encounters his son, Shingen Yashida, and his granddaughter, Mariko Yashida. In a pivotal moment, Logan saves Mariko's life, intervening during her attempted suicide. That night, while Logan dreams of Jean, Viper injects a robotic parasite into his body, affecting his healing ability. During the night, Yukio informs him of Yashida's death. The following morning, Logan attends Yashida's funeral, where he rescues Mariko from Yakuza assassins, aided by Kenichi Harada. Despite his efforts, Logan sustains multiple gunshot wounds and realizes that his healing abilities are not functioning as rapidly as before. After ensuring Mariko's safety, Wolverine boards a bullet train with her, encountering further Yakuza assassins whom he dispatches before they seek refuge in a nearby hotel. Standing watch in the rain while Mariko sleeps, Wolverine succumbs to his injuries, experiencing a hallucination of Jean. Upon regaining consciousness, he discovers Mariko seeking assistance from the motel owner's grandson, a veterinarian, to tend to his wounds and administer stitches. Logan and Mariko seek refuge in Yashida's house in southern Japan, where their bond deepens and Logan gradually opens up about pivotal moments from his past, including his experiences in war and his love for Jean. Meanwhile, Yukio experiences a chilling vision of Logan's demise, depicted with blood and his heart in his hand, lifeless. Despite her attempts to warn him, tragedy strikes as Mariko falls into the clutches of the Yakuza. Their true employer is revealed to be none other than Mariko's fiancé, the corrupt chief of justice, Noburo Mori. Logan and Yukio confront Noburo at his opulent apartment, where he reveals that Shingen orchestrated the kidnapping before Logan intervenes, sending Noburo plummeting into a pool. Wolverine and Yukio reach Yashida's residence in Tokyo, where Wolverine discovers the parasite attached to his heart. As he begins to extract it, Shingen enters, prompting Yukio to defend Wolverine. Despite the perilous procedure, Wolverine succumbs, only to have his healing ability restored upon resurrection. In a vengeful act, he dispatches Shingen. Following this, Yukio and Wolverine trail Harada and Viper to the Yashida Research Center in northern Japan in search of Mariko. Here, Wolverine faces off against Harada and the Yashida family's ninja clan in a fierce battle for survival. Placed in a machine devised by Viper, Wolverine learns of her scheme to extract his immortality. Viper introduces her associate, the Silver Samurai, who severs Wolverine's claws. Meanwhile, Mariko eludes Harada and maneuvers the machine containing Logan into the path of the Silver Samurai's strike, shattering it and liberating him. As the Silver Samurai, revealed as Yashida, drills through Wolverine's adamantium claws to extract his immortality, Mariko impales him just as Wolverine's bone claws begin to regenerate. Yashida delivers a final blow to Wolverine before meeting his demise. Overwhelmed, Wolverine succumbs, experiencing one last hallucination of Jean, finally finding closure from her death. Logan bids farewell to Mariko, now appointed CEO of the Yashida Corporation by her late grandfather's decree. He then boards a plane alongside Yukio, who reassures him of her continued role as his bodyguard. As they embark on their journey, Yukio reminds Wolverine that they are free to go wherever they please. With their destination unknown, they depart to explore new horizons together. 2 years later, in 2015, Logan finds himself at an airport where he's approached by Magneto and Charles Xavier regarding a looming threat that threatens the existence of all mutants. At some point between 2015 and 2023, Logan's bone claws are once again coated in adamantium, presumably with the assistance of Magneto. X-Men: Days of Future Past. 8 years later, Wolverine, Storm, Professor X, and Magneto converge in China to reunite with their fellow Free Mutants. Their objective: to send Wolverine back to 1973 and prevent Mystique from assassinating Bolivar Trask, an event that catalyzed the Sentinel program. Due to his regenerative abilities, Wolverine is the sole candidate capable of enduring the physical and mental rigors of time travel. Utilizing Shadowcat's powers, they transport Wolverine's consciousness into his younger body, awakening him in 1973 amidst a confrontation with armed assailants. Reacting swiftly, Wolverine dispatches his attackers before embarking on his mission to locate Professor X. Upon arriving at the X-Mansion, Wolverine has a tense encounter with Hank McCoy. Eventually, Wolverine finds Charles and implores him for assistance, to which Charles reluctantly acquiesces. Their objective is to liberate Magneto from prison for the alleged assassination of President John F. Kennedy. The trio first seek out Peter Maximoff's aid. Together, they infiltrate the Pentagon, with Charles, Wolverine, Quicksilver, and Hank successfully navigating the facility and securing Eric's release. While in pursuit of Mystique, Wolverine's encounter with William Stryker triggers traumatic flashbacks. In 2023, Wolverine experiences violent tremors, accidentally injuring Shadowcat with his claws. Back in 1973, he initially struggles to comprehend his purpose and the identity of the young Charles Xavier. However, as Charles grapples with despair over his inability to locate Mystique using Cerebro, Wolverine facilitates communication between the two Charleses, acting as a bridge between their mind. The future Charles Xavier encourages his past self not to lose hope, ultimately empowering him to regain control and successfully utilize Cerebro once more. As Wolverine, Professor X, and Hank attend the unveiling of the Sentinels in search of Mystique, chaos erupts as the Sentinels turn hostile toward the public. In a bid to thwart their rampage, Magneto employs his powers to lift an entire stadium, encircling the White House and deploying all but one Sentinel to pursue Wolverine and Beast. Engaging the Sentinel, Wolverine finds himself overpowered when Magneto reinforces it with steel, incapacitating him before submerging him in a nearby river. Despite his incapacitation, Wolverine's actions catalyze a chain of events that culminate in the past Charles Xavier successfully altering the future. In 2023, just as the Sentinels prepare to unleash devastation upon the X-Men, Shadowcat severs the connection, causing Wolverine's alterations to the timeline to take effect, resulting in the disappearance of the impending threat. Having successfully reshaped the timeline, Wolverine regains consciousness at the Xavier Institute in the altered future, precisely at the moment he was initially sent back into time. To his astonishment, he discovers Storm, Shadowcat, Rogue, Iceman, Colossus, Beast, Professor X, and to his shock, Cyclops and Jean Grey all alive once again. Seeking clarity, Wolverine approaches Professor X and admits to having just completed his journey through time, devoid of any recollection of the events in the new timeline. Delighted, Professor X informs him that they have much to discuss and catch up on, setting the stage for a new chapter in their shared history. Revised timeline. Changing the past. In 1973, after a night with the woman he's meant to protect, Wolverine's consciousness is overridden by his future self's mind, a result of Shadowcat's powers aimed at altering the future. In the altered timeline, back in the past, Wolverine remains submerged at the river's bottom until Mystique, disguised as Major William Stryker, orchestrates his rescue for unknown reasons, subsequently taking custody of him. Capture and escape. Through undisclosed methods, Wolverine is apprehended and subjected to the Weapon X program by the genuine Stryker at Alkali Lake, undergoing the process of having an adamantium skeleton bonded to his body. During this process, he is outfitted with a harness, headgear, and implanted cords, aimed at indoctrinating him into a controllable weapon for Stryker's purposes. However, the brainwashing backfires, plunging Wolverine into a feral and primal state, rendering him instinctually aggressive and berserk. As Cyclops, Jean Grey, and Nightcrawler embark on a mission to rescue their captured comrades from Stryker's facility, Jean discovers Wolverine's containment unit and telepathically discerns his condition. In an attempt to aid their escape, she employs her telekinesis to unlock the unit, inadvertently triggering a violent rampage from the seemingly mindless mutant. The rampage results in the merciless slaughter of numerous personnel within the facility. Upon reaching the exit, Cyclops, Jean, and Nightcrawler find themselves face to face with Wolverine. Tensions escalate, and it appears a confrontation between Wolverine and Cyclops is imminent. However, Jean intervenes, using her telepathic abilities to communicate with Wolverine and offer her assistance. Removing his helmet, Jean places her hands on Wolverine's head and initiates the process of partially restoring his memories. As fragments of his past flood back, Wolverine remembers his true identity, Logan. Without uttering a word, he sheds the additional gear of the Weapon X program and abruptly departs into the wilderness, his actions speaking volumes about his desire for freedom and independence. Joining the X-Men. Over the course of the next 4 decades, Logan embarks on a tumultuous journey, initially working as an assassin before retiring and transitioning into a career as a cage fighter, eventually falling victim to addiction to barbiturates. His path takes a transformative turn when Professor X locates him and extends a helping hand, leading Logan to undergo a profound personal reformation under the care of the X-Men. Embracing a newfound sense of purpose, Logan joins the ranks of the X-Men and accompanies them on various missions, including one to New York City. Prior to the events of 2023, he assumes the role of a history teacher at Xavier's school, contributing his knowledge and experience to the education and guidance of future generations of mutants. In 2023, the consciousness of Logan from the original timeline awakens within his body in the altered timeline. As he emerges from his room, he's greeted by the presence of friends who had perished in the original timeline, all alive and well at the school, signaling the success of the mission and the correction of the timeline. Making his way to Professor X's office, Logan briefly converses with him about the events that transpired, expressing the need to catch up on the events of the past 50 years. Westchester Incident. In 2028, Charles Xavier is afflicted with Alzheimer's disease, leading to a catastrophic seizure that results in the injury of 600 individuals and the tragic loss of several members of the X-Men. Recognizing the danger posed by Charles's deteriorating condition, Logan takes it upon himself to transport Charles to a remote location in Mexico near the US border, where they can find solace and safety away from populated areas. Understanding the challenges of caring for Charles alone, Logan enlists the help of Caliban, relying on his assistance to provide the necessary care and support for Charles during this tumultuous time. Together, they embark on a journey of companionship and resilience, navigating the complexities of Charles's illness while striving to ensure his well-being and protection. Death. In 2029, Logan has adopted the guise of James Howlett and works as a limo driver, ferrying passengers ranging from businessmen to high schoolers. His primary goal is to amass enough funds to purchase a boat, enabling him to escape with Charles and Caliban to the safety of the sea, where Charles's seizures won't pose a threat to others. One fateful day, Logan is approached by Gabriella, a nurse affiliated with Transigen, who seeks his assistance in escorting her and an 11-year-old girl named Laura to a sanctuary known as Eden in North Dakota. Soon after, he encounters Donald Pierce, Transigen's formidable chief of security, who offers him a job to locate Gabriella and Laura. Refusing Pierce's offer, Logan remains steadfast in his resolve to protect the innocent. After much deliberation, Logan reluctantly agrees to undertake Gabriella's job, only to tragically discover her lifeless body upon his return home. Determined to ensure Charles's safety, Logan prepares to depart with him when Donald Pierce reemerges, prompting a scuffle that leads Logan unconscious. Laura, who had covertly stowed away in his vehicle, intervenes, rendering Pierce incapacitated. Recognizing the urgency of their situation, Logan entrusts Caliban with the task of disposing of Pierce, while he tends to Charles. However, their respite is short-lived as Pierce returns with his cybernetically enhanced enforcers, the Reavers, leading to Caliban's capture. Logan and Laura narrowly evade the Reavers, setting out on a perilous journey to escape their pursuers. Subsequently, Logan and Charles uncover the truth about Transigen's sinister agenda through a video found on Gabriella's phone. It's revealed that Transigen was conducting the X-23 project, breeding mutant children with DNA samples obtained from various mutants, including Logan himself. Gabriella had aided in the escape of several mutant children from the Transigen compound, including Laura, who was revealed to be Logan's daughter, genetically, conceived using his DNA obtained during his time at Alkali Lake in 1983. As the group settles in a hotel in Oklahoma City, Logan uncovers the devastating truth that Eden is merely a fictional place mentioned in an X-Men comic book Laura had brought with her. Meanwhile, the Reavers track down their location, leading to a chaotic confrontation. Xavier's seizure paralyzes everyone in the hotel with a powerful psychic blast, leaving Logan to navigate through the frozen chaos. Amidst the turmoil, Logan ascends through the hotel, dispatching numerous Reavers to reach Xavier's side. He administers a suppressant to quell Xavier's powers, allowing them to flee the city. However, the harrowing ordeal leaves a trail of destruction, with hundreds injured and dozens dead. Seeking refuge, the trio finds sanctuary with the Munson family, who offer them hospitality after a chance encounter on the highway. While assisting the Munsons with a burst pipe on their property, Logan confronts and repels harassers, demonstrating his protective instincts. Tragically, their respite is shattered when X-24, a feral clone of Wolverine, launches a brutal attack. Xavier is fatally wounded, and X-24 slaughters the Munsons, leaving Laura captured and Will mortally wounded. Logan returns to find Xavier on the brink of death, with his final moments marked by profound loss and sorrow. In a desperate bid to confront X-24, Logan engages in a fierce battle, but despite his efforts, he's unable to overcome the clone's savage onslaught. In a selfless act, Caliban sacrifices himself by detonating grenades to allow Laura and Logan to escape, while Will intervenes and fatally impales X-24 with his car. As they flee, Logan succumbs to exhaustion and emotional turmoil, awakening in a clinic where a doctor urges him to seek treatment for his deteriorating condition. Stubbornly refusing assistance, Logan remains adamant in his resolve to face his fate alone. Meanwhile, Laura persuades Logan to accompany her to Eden, despite his skepticism about its existence. Along the journey, tensions rise, culminating in a heated argument before Logan reluctantly agrees to indulge Laura's desire to seek out Eden. Eventually, exhaustion overtakes Logan, and Laura takes the reins, driving them to their destination. Despite Logan's initial skepticism, the journey to Eden symbolizes a newfound sense of hope and purpose, as they embark on a quest for redemption and salvation in a world filled with uncertainty and danger. At Eden, Logan and Laura find refuge among other Transigen escapees led by Richter. As Logan battles with his inner demons in a restless slumber, Laura shares her own nightmares with him, acknowledging the cruelty of humanity. In a poignant moment, Logan discovers a bullet made of adamantium lodged in Laura's possession, realizing it's the same material implanted in them, likely causing the deterioration. Driven by a sense of responsibility, Logan entrusts Laura with the bullet, symbolizing his commitment to her safety. The following day, the children, including Laura, playfully groom Logan's beard, evoking laughter and camaraderie. Despite his initial gruffness, Logan's bond with the children deepens as he learns of their plan to seek refuge across the Canadian border. However, their journey is interrupted when the Reavers capture the children, prompting Logan to make a fateful decision. Consumed by desperation, he administers a serum that restores his healing factor, enabling him to confront the Reavers and rescue the children. In a climactic showdown, Logan confronts Xander Rice, the architect of the Transigen project, and learns of the sinister plot to exterminate mutants using a lethal virus. In a final act of defiance, Logan dispatches Rice before facing off against X-24, the ruthless clone of himself. With the aid of Richter's seismic powers, Logan and Laura engage in a brutal battle, culminating in a decisive victory over their adversaries. Despite the toll exacted by the serum's side effects, Logan's sacrifice ensures the children's survival, reaffirming his legacy as a protector and a hero. In a tragic turn of events, X-24 delivers a fatal blow to Logan, impaling him on a tree stump. With his last ounce of strength, Logan imparts his final words of wisdom to Laura, urging her not to succumb to the weaponization Transigen intended for her. As Logan draws his last breath, he passes away in Laura's embrace, leaving behind a legacy of courage and sacrifice. Grieving the loss of their protector, Laura and the children honor Logan's memory by burying him in Canada, his birthplace. Laura pays tribute to Logan's spirit by quoting lines from the film Shane as she lays him to rest. As they bid farewell to Logan, Richter reminds the children of the necessity to keep moving forward in their quest for safety. With heavy hearts, Laura joins Richter and the children, their journey continuing as they strive to build a better future for themselves and their kind. In a poignant gesture, Laura adjusts the cross on Logan's grave, forming an X to commemorate his legacy as an X-Men and the Wolverine. His sacrifice ensures the survival of the mutant race, paving the way for a new era of hope and resilience. Deadpool kills alternate Weapon 11. News from Deadpool. In a bold move, the contemporary Deadpool ventures into the past to the 3 Mile Island incident, where he confronts and eliminates the alternate version of himself created by William Stryker. After dispatching this alternate Deadpool, Deadpool reaches out to Wolverine, urging him to reconsider his retirement and return to the battle if needed. Though initially bewildered by the unexpected encounter, Wolverine ultimately agrees to Deadpool's cryptic request, setting the stage for potential future exploits. And that, my friends, is the Wolverine timeline for the MCU so far. Of course, very soon we'll be getting Deadpool and Wolverine. So keep an eye out for new developments in the life of Wolverine. But what did you think of the video? Did we cover everything that we needed to? Did you get all the events? Did we cover all the important events? What's your favorite Wolverine movie? What's your favorite Wolverine moment? Are you excited for Deadpool and Wolverine? Make sure you let us know down in the comments and subscribe for more like this. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Excelsior!